just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, and I get it. I'm looking hot. I get it. I'm used to it. It happens all the time when I wear this jumper. That's right. This jumper, plus you can see Timmy. Jeez, have a look at you. Looking pretty good there. Looking pretty good. Then you've got Maddie. No offense, Maddie, but that jumper's not helping. Even that jumper can't save you, bros. No. I jest. These jumpers on Monday, 6 p.m. next week are dropping. And maybe I want to be really clear. This is very limited numbers, guys. Very limited numbers. Way smaller than we usually order. Because as you can see, this is a different style. We're going really subtle, different colors. We've never done these colors before. Me personally, I absolutely love these jumpers. They're going to be $79.95 on bloke.shop, 6 p.m. next Monday. Set your alarms. They are high quality, beautiful, beautiful jumpers. Now, you also may be thinking, hang on a sec. There's one bloke that's not wearing a jumper. Now, on the weekend, the great Gurino went to number one in the podcasting game. Sports Podcast in Australia on Spotify. Guru went to number one. So I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide. Goes to number one, all of a sudden, too big for his boots. He also said, I sent him a picture of the number one. He texts back, we need to talk money. That's what he said to me. That's what he said to me. The great Gurino, round of applause, went to number one. Fucking oath. Woo!
Welcome back to Guru in a Bar.
Oh, yeah.
How good.
Oh, yeah. So good. So fucking good.
No, I left my bloke jumper at home. I feel a little bit left out now, just quietly.
That's all right. Well, we're gonna make it real,
goods.
you know what? We're gonna make it real cold so you shiver the whole time. And these high quality jumpers keep us warm.
You want to know why Guru went one? He gets Origin.
Oh,
he just gets it.
Oh, my God. Give me a break. Also, our Bloke Steedens, we have another restock of our Bloke Steedens. They're brown. They're old school. They're one of our most popular items. The last lot went very quickly, so make sure you get your hands on Bloke Steedens before they're gone. Bloke Bottle-Os are on special. Bloke Beer is on special across New South Wales and Queensland in every Bottle-O in New South Wales and Queensland. Currently on special. Go to Bottle-O website. Check out their store locator, Bloke Lager on special. Wow, what a weekend. The rugby league world. I tell you what, it's so weird how before you're in the content game, you don't appreciate how much content rugby league gives you. It just doesn't stop. It does not stop. But let's get into accountability before we get into anything. Accountability brought to you by Sportsbet, the best in the business, guys. We all know this. And, I mean, this week, I personally believe this week portrays, you know, what it's all about when it comes to tipping, what it is all about. Let's go through it. And obviously, gamble responsibly, guys. Make sure to gamble responsibly. But you're going to have a punt. You've got to go Sportsbet. Got a brand new product, Multi-Tracker. You can track your multi on the Sportsbet app as it happens. Incredible feature. Absolutely loving it at the moment. Let's get into it. Queensland defeat New South Wales 32-6. Denon went Queensland, New South Wales, and the rest of the boys went New South Wales. That's one for Denon. Warriors defeat the Dragons. We all went Warriors. Eels defeat the Dolphins. We all went Eels. Timmy went Dolphins. Timmy went Dolphins.
Yeah, well, look, after knocking him at the start of the year, I had to save a bit of face with Dolphins fans. I thought, I'll throw on this one.
Oh, my God. The excuses. Unbelievable. The office person pick didn't work this time, mate. Panthers defeat the Knights. We all went Panthers. Storm defeat Manly. We all went Storm. Broncos lost to the Titans. We all went Broncos. Mine was a biased pick, so I actually get that one because it's like obviously a fan of the Broncos. Cowboys defeat South. We all went South. Raiders defeat the Roosters. We all went Raiders. The winner this week is the great man himself. It's me. It's me. And you know what? It's that typical Queensland spirit. I'm just clawing me way back. I'm never out of the fight. Timmy thought he had it done and everything sewn up last week. It's now 9-6. 3 more wins. I'm back.
Timmy got every Queensland tip wrong this weekend, from club to
because he doesn't get it. He's the office person. We understand this.
I refuse to tip Queensland teams because I bleed blue and I'm still up by 3 over you. Imagine if I actually started tipping because I thought they'd win.
Oh, man. Imagine if you had only won 4 in 18 years. Oh, damn.
I think it's controversial that State of Origin counts to accountability for this.
Wow.
NRL tipping comp.
Oh, wow. Okay, so are you putting in a
Count the
formal...
World Cup too? Were we bringing that in too?
Holy shit, formal complaint?
Formal complaint.
I think Kempy's only 2 wins of the year of being the Origin weeks because you've got the Maroons.
Because you know what? Because Maroons get it. It's the Queensland spirit that gets me across the line. That's our accountability brought to you by Sportsbet, the best in the business. Gamble responsibly, guys. Don't go crazy. Only pump what you can afford. A little bit of fun here and there. You win some, but you lose more. Thanks to the absolute legends over at Sportsbet, being an incredible partner since coming on board, have really helped Bloke out. Let's get into Team of the Week. At 1, Drinkwater. At 2, Khan Pereira. 3, the Great Peach. Holy. I mean, talk about turning back the clock. That's probably his best game in, like, what do you reckon, 8 years?
Isn't it funny how some guys just look right in certain jerseys?
Yeah, for
Peachy
sure.
has not looked right in years.
That's so true. That Penrith jersey is peach.
Yeah.
Is the peach. Val at 4. Number 4 is Valentine Holmes. Number 5, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. Number 6, Jackie Whiten. He came out ripping and a tearing. 7, SJ. Closely followed by Moses at 7, but we just thought SJ just got across the line. Fodawaker at 8. Wow, didn't he come out of Origin big. At 9, Grant. Bit of a quiet week for Nines. Bit of a quiet week, but he made 56 tackles and obviously a part of a big win for the Storm. 10, Adam Fanua-Blake. 11, Nanai. What the hell? He has come back and just... I'd argue he's come back and he's playing better than he was last year. At least the last 3 games.
It's a completely fair argument.
Like,
it's wild. Yeah.
He's running for like big meters. Like even when he was scoring all those tries, he wasn't running 180 meters in a game. It's unbelievable. Nanai at 12, Fafita. Oh my God. Titans don't get close to winning without Fafita. He had his hand in, scored a try assist, and was just an absolute thorn in our side. 13, Hopgood. 14, Gutherson. 15, Nas. 16, Horsburgh. We've forgotten the 17. Who's the 17?
No, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't have a 17. Yeah. Okay. Mitchell Moses.
I was going to pick Hopgood again.
Oh, God. Patrick Carrigan. I think you would have smelt who gets the Menulog Hungriest Player of the Week. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. That is right. The code is DWZ for $10 off when you spend $30 or more. You just put in the code DWZ. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak is our Hungriest Player of the Week. Hottest player with that hair. That hair is just so beautiful, but also to see it flying across the wing, scoring 4 meat pies, 4 meaties. Talk about some players just need the right coach to bring out all that talent. It was only a few years ago at the Bulldogs where he would play so well, but he would have 3 or 4 errors in him, and you'd go, there's such a good footy player here. Wasn't he one of the youngest captains or something for New Zealand a while ago? So there was this incredible player in there, and then for a few years you were going, oh, could this player with all this potential fade out? Ever since Webster has taken over, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak has been essentially like one of the heart of that side. What do you thought about his performance?
Yeah, he's been incredible, mate. Coming through the grades and he was at the Panthers, he was the guy at fullback. And then he sort of came into first grade and he's had to adapt to just being, he was a centre fullback, but I think wing is by far and away his best position. I love how he's just owned that. He's been incredible. And isn't it, what is it now, 13 years or something, where if you want to score tries, the best real estate consistently is probably outside SJ, isn't it?
It's crazy.
Always.
It's unbelievable.
Like you think SJ goes up and down sometimes, but over the last decade, I don't think there's been anywhere better to stand than on the right-hand side of SJ.
He's just so good at creating space for people outside him. Like, it's seriously getting into areas of this might be better form than 2011. It's different. It's not the same. You're not going to see the same kind of highlights that we saw, but the impact he's having on his team's performance, it might not be better, but if you were to sit here and say we're getting close to that point, I would not argue that hard against you.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at 2011, SJ obviously was fantastic. It was exciting, but if you said which one's more likely to win a comp, I have to go with this one.
But how good has it been? Dallin, he reminds me of that old school Warrior where he's striking fear into his opponent. There was a period there where the Warriors, like the Francis Mellies, where you would go to New Zealand and be like, oh, I'm going to get bashed, whether it's in a defence or attack. Marcelo Montoya and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak is bringing back that unique feature to the Warriors.
And DWZ's been like this for a long time. Like I remember watching a thing on Fox League a couple of years ago about who's the hardest player to tackle. And like I couldn't believe how many guys said DWZ, and it made me sit back and watch him even closer and just, man, the way he returns the ball is ferocious.
That's a perfect word. Like they're bringing back that ferociousness that the outside backs used to have. You know, obviously Manu did it for many years, but I reckon even a bit earlier than that, Warriors just had this aura about them of ferociousness.
Yeah,
like
Clinton Torpy.
There was just this like, fuck, you're going to play the Warriors, you're coming out sore.
Yeah.
Almost like the aura that the PNG teams have when Australia play them. Like, you might get the win, but you're coming away sore.
Yeah.
Also, with that put down, the flying one he does in the corner, he's got another metre width to work on the field than anyone else because he jumps that far out and just goes, I'm going to give myself every inch to get this ball down.
So good. So the code is DWZ. $10 off when you spend $30 or more. That is an absolute bargain. So get to Menulog, download the app, $10 off when you spend $30 or more, DWZ. Now, huge news coming out of the Dragons. So there was a lot of reports Broncos may get Benny Hunt's services this year. So we'll get to that first, and then we'll get to the news that is broken. I mean, off the bat, as a fan, I would have loved Benny Hunt to come to the Broncos. As a person, I didn't like it. I would rather him play his contract out this year at the Dragons, give them an opportunity to replace him, give him an opportunity to get into the market and basically, meet them halfway. So even though selfishly you could go, yeah, how good Benny Hunt be at the Broncos this year, basically make some premiership favourites, some would say, I still wouldn't have liked it. It wouldn't have felt right. I believe in the team we've got now can win a premiership, and on top of that, I think it's only fair that at the very least he plays out this season. So I would not have liked it if he had to come to the Broncos. And some people go, well, you're only saying that now because the Dragons are refusing to release it, but I said it before the podcast, before we knew it. I wouldn't have been comfortable with him coming to the Broncos this season. Next year, for sure, not this season. What do you reckon?
I feel so weird about this one because honestly, all I want to see is Ben Hunt to be successful. That's all I want. I'm happy to admit I am biased on that front 100%, but I agree with you. It doesn't feel right for him to go to a top 2 team, walk in there. But as I said, I am very biased because I just want to see Ben Hunt be successful because I think he deserves it.
Because this year would be, if he goes there with Flegler and Herbie still at the club, it's like premiership window.
Yeah, and I saw Joel Kane put up a thing the other day that was really interesting, talking about how, if you have $300K left over in your salary cap, I think it's on his Twitter, so worth having a look at. If you got $300K in your salary cap left over and Ben Hunt's worth $1 million, by the time we get to 2/3 of the way through the season, he's worth $300K, which means that you can buy him with that money. And Joel Kane's sort of point was that if this scale is moving down, this one should be as well, which I think is a really interesting point, which I hadn't considered yet.
Yeah, so just for people listening, let's say at the end of the year, you only have to, there's 10 games to go, random numbers, and Ben Hunt has already used $700K of his contract. As it currently stands, Broncos would only need to pay him $300K. But Joel Kane is suggesting that if you've got $300K left in your salary cap at the start of the year, that is not the same as having it at the end of the year. So, we just break it up into quarters or whatever, or rounds. As each round goes, we'll just say it should retract by 10K. So round 1, 290K. Round 2, 280K. 270K, 260K. And so by the time you get to the point where and $1 million player is off contract, you actually only have $100K left in your cap to make it even and fair.
Yeah.
And that's Joel Kane, guys. That's not,
I just thought it was an interesting take on it. Obviously, we had a very similar situation with Tavita Panko Jr. a couple of years ago, but, respectfully to TPJ, Ben Hunt being in one of 2 key positions and just being the player he is, probably has provoked a little bit more emotion than what the TPJ move did.
Yeah, for sure. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, look, I think firstly, if he does end up staying with the Giants for the rest of the season, I hope he does. I hope he finishes on a tear. Despite not having a lot of probably success since he's been there, there's been so many good moments. The last couple of years in particular, Benny's been so good for them. So I'd love to see him finish out this year, keep him away from a wooden spoon and hopefully rack up a few wins from time to time to finish the season. if he went to the Broncos, for all the reasons you boys just mentioned, it just wouldn't have felt right. Like, the fact that is the way the cap works probably doesn't sit right with me, because you're getting $1 million player coming into the business end of the season when it matters.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then you look at clubs like the Tigers or the Knights who have lost their starting number 9 and are just crying out for one. And then he goes up to the Broncos who've got this hooking rotation. They're flying up towards the top of the table. Wouldn't have been right. So, yeah, I hope Benny does finish the season there. Whether or not that does play out that way, we'll see. But good to see for now.
Yeah, so I really just think it's unfair on the Dragons for him to bounce right now. And look, I don't know if there's heaps of stuff that's gone on behind closed doors. Now, if more information came out and something crazy happened and he's like, I can't wear the jersey anymore, and then that's maybe a little bit of a different story. But at this stage, with what we know, at least see the season out, in my opinion. I think that's the fairest way. It's the cleanest way to do it for everyone. Now, some people have been, I guess, quite frustrated at the fact that he may have been willing to play 9 at the Broncos, but he doesn't want to play 9 at the Dragons. Look, I think that it's kind of like, I disagree with that a little bit. For example, all the obvious reasons, like it's one thing to play 9 for a club that's playing for the wooden spoon right now, currently sitting last, and another thing playing 9 for a club that can win the comp. So, for example, Ben Hunt plays 9 for Queensland, but he doesn't want to play 9 for club. Well, like, it's the same as the Dragons could offer Benny Hunt $1.2 million to stay, and he might say, I will not play for the Dragons for $1.2 million, but I will play for the Titans for $800K. It's the same situation. So I don't see a problem with him wanting to play, willing to play 9 for a different side. It's just the way it is. Like, you make compromises for different positions and for different outcomes. And if a club is going to potentially win the comp, or at least go better than the bottom of the table, maybe you are willing to go, you know what, I will play 9 because we can do some great things. So the trade-off of the great things is worth me playing something I don't want to play. Whereas, like, what's the trade-off playing 9 for the Dragons? There's really no trade-off. You're just in the washing machine getting towed up for the last remainder of your career. And
I think it's very evident. I'm a big fan of Bud Sullivan, and I think he's got a big future, but I don't think he's ready to lead that side around right now. I think that even if you were to play Ben Hunt at 9 for the Dragons, I still don't think the team would improve, because they need him at halfback. They need a genuine leader. All of a sudden he arrives at Brisbane. Who's the best halfback there in that side? It probably is Adam Reynolds. So it makes sense for him to play 9 there. I don't understand that argument at all from people. Yeah. And he plays 9 for Origin, so it's like he clearly will do it if it's... And on top of that, like, if he plays 9 for the Dragons at the moment, as we, even the next couple of years, like, he's not going to be doing the fun work. He's going to be tackling his arse off. Whereas if he goes to a club that, playing 9 at the Panthers is a very different, prospect than playing 9. And, like, all you have to do is look at the Dragons' rotation on the weekend. When they took Jacob Little off, who'd they put at hooker? Bud Sullivan, to bring him out on. Like, they obviously don't think he's ready to lead a side either. Anyway, so, yeah, that's our thoughts on the Broncos situation. So the Dragons, they've provided the following update. The club listened to Ben's concerns and is committed to working with him throughout the remainder of his playing contract, as both Ben and the club share a common goal of winning football games and building a successful club. That's Dragons CEO. We don't have the next quote here. Can you please read out what Ben Hunt said? So, that's what the CEO said. So the CEO has implied that they are working with Ben Hunt they're committed to working with Ben Hunt throughout the remainder of his playing contract. Then Ben said this. Ben Hunt said, I appreciated the open and honest discussion and will continue to work alongside the club and now focus on our game against the Sharks this Thursday night. So, it sounds from the club's perspective that he's going to play his contract out, or at least they're going to try to make that happen. But from Ben Hunt's quote, it sounds more like, look, I'll probably play the year out, but I want out. I want out. It doesn't read well, does it? Yeah.
I'll say one thing, like, I just mentioned I'd love to see Benny Hunt see the year out with the Dragons and help them off. Hopefully, they finish on a high. But do you also look at it, and I think we touched on it last week when we were talking about Benny Hunt, but if the halves next year are going to be Amon and Sullivan, do you just get games under their belt as the starting halves, and, like, they're not going to play finals footy this year, and you start building towards 2024? Like, is that the better move long term? Short term, of course, it's not, but when you're building towards the future.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. I mean, I think that even before all this happened, that should have been a discussion of, okay, we've got Ben Hunt at the club. He's incredible. He's so good. He's one of the best in the comp. We still finished 10th.
Yeah.
So it's like, we can force this guy to stay, potentially lose Sullivan or Ramon, because they're not going to sit behind for another 2 years. There's no way. There's absolutely no way they're going to. I mean, they might, but I doubt it. And so you go, all right, well, maybe we come 15th with a Sullivan, a Moan, Sloan, Little spine, but at the very least, we're building experience with this spine. So I agree with you, mate. If I'm the Dragons for the rest of the year, now, easy for us to say, we're not the ones that get tagged with the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Which is such a big negative, but I think it takes a strong leader to make a tough decision and go, I'm willing to cop the wooden spoon, and they might not even win the wooden spoon. It's not a guarantee. I'm willing to cop the wooden spoon because I believe that we'll get the benefits next year and the year after.
Then you go into round 1 next year, and they've got the new spine has an extra 10 games together.
It's a lot.
Especially when it's Benny Hunt. He's so influential in that spine, and he's like the key playmaker. Everything comes off the back of him. It'll help him so big come round 1 next year if he was to move on now.
And the key word that Tim just said, influential. Sorry, Dragons fans. If he's so influential on that side, if he doesn't want to be there, do you want him there?
Yeah. No. You just don't. You don't. So, yeah, it looks like, I think personally he'll probably stay out the year, and then I think he probably will sign a 2-year deal with the Titans. I would love to see him at the Broncos. I just don't know if they've got the cap space for it. Now, to be fair though, they did just lose Herbie and Thomas Flegler, but they've just got like Reece Walsh. I know he signed to 25, but they got so many young superstars. I just don't know where they're going to get the money from. Whereas the Titans, they'd probably have a fair bit of cash to splurge on a Benny Hunt, and also at the Titans, he doesn't have to play 9.
Yeah, that's true.
You just go straight into that 7 role.
The Titans if Benny Hunt walks in there.
Real interesting, because then you've got Benny Hunt, Foz 1 more year, either Tanner or Brimo or whoever it is partnering him, and then all of a sudden you go, this is not a bad bloody spine. Verrill's in there at 9. Randall coming off the bench, who I thought coming off the bench was good last week.
Tino for feeder.
Yeah.
And I would...
Desi.
I'd start to wonder too, like if you have a look at the Titans, how many games have they lost where they've been out in front this year?
Yeah.
Does Ben Hunt change that?
Oh, fucking oath he does.
I think he does,
Yeah. There's no way he would let that a team of that caliber, and this is no disrespect to the Dragons team, but like you look at that forward pack or even the side, I personally believe the Titans side on paper is a better side, and it's got more upside. It's younger. It's got quite a few current Origin players. Like Fodawaker's hitting his straps. Fafita looks like it's different, but it's almost career best form.
Yeah.
Like maturing. Tino, we know how good Tino is.
And I mean, do you get the best out of Fafita if they didn't bring a mature head like Foz to the club? Like imagine the impact of Ben Hunt on top of that.
Unbelievable. Really. And look, the Titans are sitting, I think, equal 8th, and you've got a little bit of a spiel on this, actually.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a sec. But the Titans, like, they're already thereabouts. Like, it's a tight year. They're around the finals footy. You add in Des, you add in Benny Hunt. That's enough to get them in the 8, in my opinion, at the very least.
Well, even when they missed the 8 year after year, they always had points in attacking that was like, get your defence right, and this side could go far.
Yeah. And that's crazy because, like, you look at yesterday and they got their defence right and they toppled Broncos without Tino, which is like... and we've been here before with the Titans where they come out and they show us this and we go, fuck, that's an incredible side. And then the next week they struggle. But at the very least, if they get Ben and Desi, that changes a lot next year for them. A lot. I reckon it's probably the best position the club's been in since Scott Prince and Preston Campbell, if they get Ben Hunt and Desi.
There's an argument they might be in a better spot.
Oh, for sure.
Tino, Fafita, Mo Fodawaker.
They're current Origin players. Yeah. Whereas Scott Prince and that, I don't think, like maybe Princey come in every now and then, but they weren't current Origin players except for maybe Luke Bailey and
yeah, Luke Bailey would have been, but yeah, like I think Scotty Prince played like 05, 07, so
and he went in 07
though. 07 I think
07.
it was. Yeah.
So really you're looking at arguably better.
You're also looking at Origin players like Fafita.
They're young.
No, Tino, like they're Origin players for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Yep. Then you got Brimo as well, 18th man on the weekend. Anyway, so really, really exciting for I think the Titans land him. I really do.
Geez, it'd be good to see the Titans have some success.
How good would it be? Oh, man. Like, just because they've been battling for so long and there's been this promise of potential. And also, like, to see the masterstroke of signing Tino and even Fafita on massive overs. Like, everyone said that was, like, crazy, terrible deal. But Mal Meninga, he deserves a rap for going, okay, we're paying massive overs for sure, but we get him to the club, we get Tino to the club, and we get him in the system, it's harder for them to leave. Now, Fafita has taken a pay cut to stay. He wouldn't take that money to stay now if he wasn't at the club already.
And I even just think in rugby league, it's such a common thing you hear. Sporting teams can't be successful on the Gold Coast. And you hear it so often, and it's like, fuck, do we forget that there's a rugby league team that's been dominant for 20 years in Melbourne? You can't make it work on the Gold Coast?
Yeah.
Please.
Yep. So let's also talk about just breaking news. Reportedly, Luke Brooks set to sign a 3-year deal with Manly. Now, initially, people are going to be like, what the hell? And, the Luke Brooks kind of stigma or whatever. We've already kind of spoken about this off air. I actually love it.
I love it too, but I actually thought Timmy put it best when you spoke about it, to be honest with you.
Can't remember what I said, but we'll have a crack. So, I think it's a great partnership. I think him and Ches, he'll come in there. The pressure's off him because Ches is the man. He runs the show, does everything, slots in on the left edge. You've got, let's hopefully come start of next year, Tommy Turbo back fit and firing. It's a pretty easy job. You get Tommy Turbo as much clear and early ball as you can and put him in good positions. You can focus on his running game. He doesn't have to do all the kicking. I think it can work.
Yeah, I like DCE with a guy like Luke Brooks. Like DCE is so dominant that he will literally just be saying to Brooksy, we're going to get in good field, either run the ball or just run the play I tell you to run. Simplify everything for Brooksy because that's when Brooksy plays his best, when he's just running the footy and he's just not thinking about too much, not worried about too much. I love it. Reportedly around the 650K mark. Look, it's a new salary cap, so we have to put that into consideration. But if I was working on the old salary cap, I would have loved to land around the 500K mark. But 650K, I can live with it.
Yeah.
I can live with it.
Might be a little bit higher than what you'd ideally like, but I wouldn't call it overs.
No, I think so. When you think about, if they go on to be premiership threat or whatever, 650 for a 6 is good. And maybe he is the little piece of the puzzle that could make them be a premiership threat. Obviously, Tommy Troy has to be fit. What do you got there, Matty?
I'm just reading this article. It says Brooks' new deal at Manly could be worth around $2 million over the 3 seasons. So I reckon the number's highly speculative at the moment.
Yeah.
To be honest.
And also, it's always inflated too.
Yeah.
They never put the unders on it.
If it is 650 and you're paying that for Luke Brooks, who's Manly going to go out that could be better than Brooksy at 650 realistically?
Yeah, absolutely. And he did win Dalian half in 2018.
Make all your memes and all your bullshit you want. Luke Brooks can play.
He can play footy.
Yeah.
He can play footy. So I love it. Now, what's happening with Schuster, bruh?
Big question, isn't it? Does he slot in on that left edge? Does he play 13? Is he at Manly long term? I also think this domino effect's off them allowing Fainu to talk.
I was going to say,
last week, which I cannot believe.
Is this a clean out from Siebes?
Yeah, if you're going to release Fainu, I don't agree with it, but I can understand if you're going all in on Schuster, but to then sign Luke Brooks, I just don't know where it all fits.
See, that's strange. What's strange to me, unless something's happened off field that we don't know about, but I agree with you. If you get Brooks in, you keep Fainu to learn under Ches and Brooks and come in when Ches is in Origin and all that, and then when Ches leaves, blah blah blah. It's a bit bizarre for sure. The big one though for me is Schuster, because outside looking in, it looked like they fought tooth and nail to get him in that 6 jersey. They got rid of Foreign for it.
Yep.
So can you see him going, all right, I'm going to go back to an edge back rower?
Well, he fought tooth and nail to get into that 5'8" jersey too. He came out and made statements and whatnot. So I can't see him going back to the edge. I can maybe see him going to 13 potentially, but defensively, I don't know if I was parading this for a long time to put him at 13. And people had their concerns, and I completely see why too. Defensively, I don't know if you could trust him at 13.
I don't think he's made for 13. I don't think he's made for 13.
I think from an attacking point of view, he's tailor-made for 13.
Oh,
everything
fuck.
around that, defense and everything, he couldn't do it.
If you could somehow, even if you could defend him on an edge and then attack him at 13, that would be unbelievable. Him connecting between Brooks and that'd be incredible. That could work.
But I'm questioning his defense. Like if you were to have him and Brooks on an edge, how can you put those two defending?
You could if you did want to go down that route, you could attack Ola on the edge and then defend him in the middle. Like if they wanted to do that switch.
Yep. But I don't think Schuster wants to play on the edge. Like
he dug in so hard last year. It sounded like himself and management and all that he clearly wanted to be a 5'8". I don't see why anything would have changed in his mind that he doesn't want to be a 5'8" long term. So if Brooks is coming, it's hard to see him being there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if Brooks is coming, there's just no way. Brooks is going to play resis.
I thought it was interesting here too, and I don't know if it's speculation or whatever. Matty, if there's any quotes you could find them, Benji Marshall sort of saying that no, we don't want Schuster there when it was it's 2 years ago. I think Benji said it was the greatest debut he'd seen, or he's
from
the most
like a 6 or something like that.
Yeah, wild to then lose Brooksy, Adam Dewey under huge injury clouds and still not go. We'll have Schuster.
Yeah,
isn't it fascinating what Schuster's price tag would be if he left the club? Because we see the heights, we know what his potential is, but week in, week out, we don't see it. There's clearly issues with his game. Defensively, there's some lapses every single week. Like, what do you pay for Josh Schuster? I think you'd have to know the bloke and go, how much tick has this bloke got? Is he going to hit his height, or are we going to see this for the rest of his career?
I reckon there'd be enough coaches out there that'd sit there and go, I'm the guy to do it.
Yeah, I'm the guy to do it. I think there's a lot of coaches, because that's what they do. That's their passion, is to turn a guy around.
I'm the one that can do it, yeah.
Me personally, if I was a coach, I just want to see more out of him in defence. I want to see more. I just want to see more out of him. Like his ball playing is like arguably the silkiest in the comp when it comes to his ability to square defences up. I honestly have never seen anything like it. It is
so freakishly talented.
Beautiful. It is like I've never seen a guy be able to square it up so much so that even when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, he's hitting short here. And then every time it goes out the back. Like his attack in that space is great, but I just want to see more physicality in his game.
Yeah.
I want to see him fucking digging into the line, bumping blokes, jamming blokes in defence. He's huge.
Said a few times, take a leaf out of Dave Fafita's book, what he's done this year.
Yep.
Rolling up the sleeves. And look, I'm glad it wasn't me in the position trying to tackle Nelson or Solomona on the weekend with a full head of steam. But when he went through him on the weekend, and it was like a shirt grab might have been generous, calling it a shirt grab, because I don't know if he got to his shirt.
You just got to
throw yourself
at it. If you get bumped, if you get bumped, you get bumped.
Yeah.
You just that's like I don't think anyone would have begrudged Schuster getting bumped by Nass.
If you steamrolled him, you'd be like, had a crack. It's Nass with a full head of steam.
Yeah, it's all good.
Some good ball playing.
Yeah. So yeah, Schuster's in a really, really important stage of his career because you don't want to become the guy that is bouncing around clubs and each coach thinks he can guess. You want to be known as a guy that, yeah, okay, you're young and we're all young. We don't come into first grade perfect. But he's just got to find a way to go, okay, I've got all this talent, but all of the hard work areas, which he's proven he can do, like he lost all the weight, he worked hard in the off season, but I think you just need someone to get that confidence in him. It's like, mate, you are big, strong, mobile. Like, use it.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I mean, if Latu goes to the Tigers or goes somewhere and he's as successful as I think he will be, people are going to come after Schuster because he's going to be the guy they kept to let go of Latu, who I think could
and
be
Foreign as well,
and Foz as well. He's a footballer, Latu. I don't know what the story is here and what's going on and whatnot, but if just football, he can play. He's a very talented guy.
You mentioned it, but at 18 years old, 2 years playing under Ches and Brooksy there. Like Ches is 34. Could play longer, but let's say a couple more years.
Yeah.
So he's going to get heaps of opportunities to play. Ches in Origin, injuries, all sorts of things. Just looked perfect. Little.
It looked like perfect. Yeah, succession.
But I don't think that Latu and Schuster would have worked together. I think they're both 5'8" personally. So maybe Manly have seen that coming and they've backed in who they think. Oh.
But then they bought Brooks though, so it's like they haven't even backed in who they.
Yeah, which makes me wonder. I think there must be more to this, but
yeah. So look, the positive for Schuster is that he's one of the very, very few players that his future is in his own hands because he is so talented. He has the power to be one of the best players in the comp. It's just whether he wants to be.
Isn't it what? Like we were sitting here in the preseason going, he could play Origin. Everything goes right, he could play Origin.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? If he worked his way into Origin in the next 2 years, I wouldn't be sitting there going, oh, wow, that's shocking. I'd be like, oh, he's fulfilling his potential.
Yeah,
like,
he's got the ability to do it.
This is like, if he had kept on that trajectory as an edge back rower, I probably would have had him on my bench for New South Wales. You know, I want to start Murray and Martin. That's the trajectory he was on at back row. So yeah, hopefully he finds his feet. Now, some store shout-outs. Northmead Cellars running unbelievable promo at the moment. 2 cases of Bloke Lager for $90. Holy, Northmead Cellars. Prices you can't beat anywhere else, and the store has a ton of stock, so get down to Northmead Cellars and grab some Bloke beer. Bly Park Tavern, great pub in Windsor area, currently stocking Bloke beer in their drive-through bottle shop. Get down and see Lily and her team and grab some Bloke beer. North Coast Hotel Group, all new stockists down around the Coffs Harbour area. Village Green Grafton, Legends Emerald Beach, the Hoey Moey in Coffs, and the Sea View Tavern in Woolgoolga. That is North Coast Hotel Group. Village Green Grafton, Legends Emerald Beach, Hoey Moey in Coffs, and Sea View Tavern in Woolgoolga. All Celebration Superstores in Queensland have Bloke Lager on special right now. Every single Celebration Superstore in Queensland, Bloke Lager on special. The Normby Hotel, one of Brisbane's most iconic pubs, enjoying a resurgence under Ingham Myers brothers Sam and Nick, proudly supporting Broke Lager. These prices are going to send me broke. That's why. The Normby Hotel. Porter's Plainlands Hotel, biggest stockist in the Lockyer Valley. Courtyard Bar, Cairns Esplanade, pouring blokes since day one of this journey. Pop in and say g'day to Ben and the team in Cairns. Now, Guru, you got some stats for us?
Yeah, I was just having a look. Obviously, this year with the Dolphins coming into the competition, we've had a bye for every single week. So throughout the season, all teams will have 3 byes, which obviously skews the ladder quite a bit. So, for example, the Gold Coast Titans, they've had 3 byes. The Rabbitohs, they've had 1. So it does impact the ladder quite a bit. I did a podcast on mine this morning, so if you listen to that and you listen to this, I would just like to point out that in typical NRL fashion, it took them 12 hours to update their actual ladder as far as buys go. So new information, which is good. So to me, very early this morning. But if you have a look at the ladder as it stands right now, when you take out the buys, in first place is the Brisbane Broncos, standalone. They'll be on 22 competition points. In second is Penrith. Storm's in third. The one that I find most interesting, the Parramatta Eels. If you take buys away, because they've only had one, they have their second one this weekend, they're a top 4 team. They're 4th. They're currently 7th on the NRL ladder.
It is insane. The Eels are back. It's bizarre.
Wind yourself back to week 5. I think they'd won one of their first 4. I was honestly sitting there going, they're gone. And I don't want to put it down or anything, but I think they haven't lost a game since we went to the Newcastle game a few weeks ago. So
We might have
something to do it. But yeah, Parramatta into 4th place. Interesting about Parramatta, we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, their for and against they've got the second best differential in the comp. They're plus 132. Penrith plus 175. The next best is Brisbane at plus 87.
And Para have done this the last 2 games without, first of all, Mitchell Moses and Brown.
Yep.
This week without Brown.
And Hodgson.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy. So you consider that Brisbane have won 2 more games than the Eels. Brisbane's differential is plus 87. Parramatta's is plus 132.
Sean Lane too.
Sean Lane as well. But how bizarre is it? Like, Brisbane Broncos, everyone's like, what a year, incredible, this side, it's back, and, you know, rugby is good in Brisbane again. It's only 2 wins. But everyone will be saying about the Eels this year, terrible year, they've fallen off, they have cut back up. But that's how close the comp is. That's how close the comp is.
When you have a look at the bottom 4 of the top 8, take out the buys, it goes Rabbitohs, Warriors, Raiders, Sharks, which is pretty similar to how the competition is at the moment. The Sharks, they're in 8th place when you take away buys. On the current NRL ladder, when you include buys, they're in 4th.
when you sorry.
So on the current NRL ladder right now, they're coming 4th. When you take out the buys, they're actually coming 8th.
Yeah, wow.
The Rabbitohs on the current NRL ladder, they're coming 8th. Take away the buys, despite their poor form recently, they're in 5th place.
Far out. Can we get rid of this fucking 2 points for a bye shit?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Fuck.
Yeah,
So
it skews the entire thing.
No, I totally disagree. Because if you don't give points for a bye, then your team could go down the ladder without playing a game, and that'd make it even worse. And plus, it's not even like it doesn't make it that less skewed anyway. Because, for example, yeah, Souths will go up, but the Sharks have had also less opportunities to win games. So
Reverse effect kind of.
yeah, like I think giving 2 points for a bye is needed, because you don't want to go into a bye thinking your team could go down the ladder.
I'd rather 0 points, because then you just go, how many games are played? 14. Whereas like this one, you go, played 14 plus, you know what I mean? Like you got to add more to it. But I see your point, Matty. You're a fuckwit, but I see it.
It is interesting when you have a look at the top 8, though, on either ladder, whichever one you want to look at. The second worst differential is Sharks at plus 74. The Raiders are at minus 69, which isn't it just so typical Raiders that, and like you're never going to fix that. You could win 10 games in a row and your differential could be minus 50.
Yeah, we'll win them all by 2 points.
Yeah, win them all by 2 points. It's not going to change. But it is something for Raiders fans that if it does come down to, which at the moment this competition is so close, it's insane. Comes down to for and against, you could find yourself in trouble quickly.
Isn't it interesting? Like, I sat there on Sunday just frothing on rugby league because Broncos got done, Bunnies got done, Roosters got done by the mighty Durs. But I was just sitting there going, all right, Broncos and Bunnies, who I have as enormous premiership contenders this year, right up there. How open is this competition? It seems like it gets closer and closer every week, but it is also, and why I stick by it, while I stand by that, looking at your ladder there, Guru, it's pretty much the top 8 from last year, isn't it?
Yeah,
So the Broncos have come into it, the Wires have come into it for the time being, but
Cowboys are on the rise.
the Cowboys, you're about to get to it, sorry, but Cowboys in 9th, like it's very close to the top 8 from last year.
Yeah, and as you said, when you go down past the top 8, everyone's pretty much in their exact spots. Nothing overly changes there. I thought it was interesting. The Roosters are exactly where their differential is minus 90 this year. The Dragons is minus 91.
The Roosters.
The Tigers are minus 81, so they've been 10 points better than the Chooks. It's wild. And mate, the only outlier is the Canterbury Bulldogs are minus 154. Consider their injuries and everything. The next worst is the Dragons, and then it's the Roosters. Dragons they're only down 1 point on the Chooks.
With that side, like that is some of the most I can't remember a year with a side as good as that to be that bad differential. Like that is shocking.
Which is insane when you consider the Raiders are only 21 points better, and they're in 6.
It's just, mate, what a bizarre
Comp's
year.
unbelievable this year.
It's so good, so good. So
yeah, I think for Rabbitohs fans, there's a lot to take away from that, and Eels fans, a stack to take away from that.
and Broncos,
And Broncos, yeah. Fair.
top of the table. We're on top of the table. Number 1. Thanks. Thanks for that, Guru, letting us know that Broncos are top of the table. Now let's get into the games. Warriors defeat the Dragons 48-18, and what a win from the Warriors. They just look better and better each week. And Sean Johnson, as we spoke about, Adam Fanua-Blake, Watene Zelezniak, but it's the guys around them doing all the little tough stuff. It's the Tohu Harris that never gets mentioned in the best 13 in the game. Yeah, and we're guilty of it too. But like their turnaround, it's the stuff of bloody legend. There is no way, I swear to God, at the start of this year, before the preseason trials, when you saw the outs for the ins, I was like, there's no difference. Like this is the same side as last year. The only difference is a coach. And I'd heard good things about Webster, but this good, no way. I couldn't believe that he could turn around this much. Now, in the first preseason trial, I did say, there's something different about this Warriors side. There is something different. I think they've convinced everyone there's something different about this Warriors side. And what is just so exciting about the Warriors is they haven't even gone into the market aggressively yet. They went out and got a bunch of battlers that arguably fringies. You know, their biggest buy was Dylan Walker. Is there anyone bigger than Dylan Walker?
Not really.
Chance
was in reserve grade.
Deal. Yeah.
Like Dylan Walker, a bench player for Manly who come fucking, 11th last year or some shit?
Yeah.
It is unbelievable what they're doing. And the way they're doing it, they're mixing that old scary Warriors, like where you just like, fuck that, with, grinding games out. Good completion usually, a bit low this week, but when they need to complete at high rates, they do. Getting to certain positions on field. It's not just like hot potato footy. It is a mixture of old and new, and it is bloody exciting. Guru, what do you think of the Warriors?
Yeah, I think the other layer to add to that, as you said, they didn't go into the market too aggressively and whatnot, but the other thing is the Webster's doing such a good job. This isn't his team. This is the team he's been given. He's had nothing to do with the recruitment of the players he's got there, which, maybe that says more or less about him. I don't know, but scary to think when he actually starts to be able to build the team with the exact guys that he wants, like where could the Warriors finish? Roger Tuivasa-Sheck walks back in there.
Yep.
Like I was talking on the potty this morning. I was like, geez, how exciting is it going to be when Roger comes in? I sat there and went, fuck that. How exciting is it this year?
It's almost like
I keep thinking to next year, but like I'm not saying they're going to win a comp this year, but God, they can give it a shake. What are they missing? Like,
what's so bizarre? I agree with you. I'm in the same boat. Like, Roger's coming back next year. They're going so well. I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, it's not big news. Which is mental. Like, it is big news. It's Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. I'm not disrespecting RTS at all. Like, I am unbelievable. But these guys, it's almost like he's going to add something, but you're good without him. Like, that's how good these guys are going. Whereas in yesteryear, he would almost be the saviour. He would be, RTS is coming next year. He's going to turn everything around. No, like, if put it this way, if Roger Tuivasa-Sheck wasn't coming next year, I would not be worried for the Warriors next year. I would still be like, they're going to be even better next year.
Yeah, you sort of can be. You've touched on these blokes already a little bit, but like when I think of Craig Bellamy and the stellar coaching career that he's had, one of his biggest attributes, as we know, is his ability just to get fringies and turn them into grand final winning players. Now, obviously, Webster hasn't done that at the Warriors just yet. He's just taken over the role, but the pin-up boys there are Dallin, Chance, Sean Johnson, and probably to a lesser degree, Adam Fanua-Blake, who their careers were sort of petering out. They were getting to the twilight end of it, and you said, do they have many legs left in them? And all of these blokes are arguably in career best form. Well,
I mean, you could make the argument that Dallin, Sean Johnson, and Chance would struggle to get a contract. Like,
they did, yeah.
Yeah, so like at the end of last year, if it came to a point where you heard SJ go, look, I'm not getting any bites. Like, I'm getting minimum offers, but I'm not really like that's. And yet now, come this year, how many clubs could do with Sean Johnson?
If I was running a club at the start of the year and I needed a halfback, I wouldn't have signed SJ. I'm happy to admit I wouldn't have signed him.
Yeah, it'd be fair because he'd struggle with injury, he'd been in and out, and now I'm going, bloody hell, get him to me club ASAP.
Two of like the biggest attributes that I always look for in a good halfback, like take out kicking and a few other things, but again, things we talk about, it's playing direct, like squaring up, and playing deep into the line. And SJ at the moment, every single play is doing that. Both edges, but in particular the right edge with Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, the passing and everything in that is so crisp. It starts with SJ and how deep he's going into line. Cody Walker-esque. They they scored a try on the weekend when they had Murata Niokore off the field. They were 12 down and they still stripped the Dragons and relatively comfortably because their ball movement is incredible.
And shout out to SJ, that hasn't come naturally to him. That wasn't his game when he was at his best previously, we've seen. So he has moulded his game to not only suit the body that he's got now, but to suit the modern game as well, to suit the team around him. It's incredible.
And I think what he's done is he's taken that, because we always knew he had good hand-eye coordination, good hand skills with the ball, like flick passes. We always knew that. He's taken that skill set and said, I'm going to apply it to the boring stuff in rugby league. The really boring stuff of just squaring blokes up, hitting out the back, hitting shape, hitting whatever I need to hit. And he's just nailing it.
That's why I think credit has to go to the coach. I think sometimes the biggest downfalls of coaches nowadays is that they coach the team that they want to have, which is a Penrith or a Melbourne or one of these sides. He's coached the team that he has perfectly. He has coached each of them to their strengths, and I think the best example is Jackson Ford.
I was about to say, my next guy to talk about was Jackson Ford.
Yeah.
He's a guy that couldn't get a start at the Dragons, and I know it hurts to hear Dragons, but obviously currently sitting at the bottom of the table. Now he's at the Warriors, and he's a mainstay.
And you know what will annoy Dragons fans the most is that every single one of them, and anyone that's watched Jackson Ford could see this.
Yeah.
But the Dragons just couldn't get it.
Dragons recruitment and that over the last few years has just been real. I mean, Reece Robson,
Garrick,
Saab, Cam McGuinness, Jackson Ford. Like, these are all guys that wanted to stay at the club. Anyway.
Tyron Wishart's another one too.
Yeah.
Talk about them being like a potential top 4 team this season, and there's no reason why they can't believe in doing that because the form warrants it. 3 of the next 4 games are at home in New Zealand. There's a few toughish games there, but I think it's Parramatta in round 19 when Parramatta should have a few Origin players out, Warriors be near full strength. They then have the bye in round 22. Their run home there in the back end of the season, they have the Titans, Tigers, Manly, Dragons and Dolphins. Like, bye into 5 super winnable games. So there's no reason why they can't be a top 4 side come finals time.
Yeah. They've still got Tomato Martin to come back.
So there's a question for you.
Yeah. Could they be?
Like, it sounds like Tamare, will come back in and be the number 6 for them, but they've been dominant with Luke Metcalf at 6. What a problem to have for them.
I think Martin will be the 6, but great, like
It's a great problem to have.
unreal, yeah.
A really, really, it's a tough call though. Because I just think Metcalf, he's still got a lot to go. Like, I still reckon we're not even getting close to what he'll become in first grade.
And it's hard too because do you take Metcalf out of the side? Do you play him on the bench? Can the Warriors afford to run with Walker and Metcalf on the bench? Are you giving away too much there?
I reckon you're giving away too much there. I reckon
It's hard, isn't it? And because Walker is perfect, he comes on and plays as a middle forward, but can cover every position that Metcalf covers. Every position basically 1 to 7.
Yeah.
So, Metcalf would be ideal there, but you don't even need him, do you?
Yeah. Warriors, unbelievable. It's just crazy how well he is. Like, a sign of a good coach is when you've got players that are genuinely playing to the best of their ability and arguably career best form. It is unbelievable. And the positive as well is that think about all of the young 16-year-old Kiwis at the moment in New Zealand that are looking at this going, maybe I stay in New Zealand. Maybe I don't get poached by X club in Australia because, when you look across the NRL and you look at a lot of our best players, they're Kiwis. If they could manage to stay in New Zealand, fucking hell.
That's the other thing as well. Like, you have every 4 years, and you obviously have the Rugby Union World Cup, which is just so important to the All Blacks, and it's such a carrot to be dangling that. I was talking to someone once from the Warriors, and they said that that World Cup comes up every 4 years, so that's starting to impact young kids' decisions 3 years out. So if the Warriors have 2 to 3 years where they're just off the radar and they're not appealing, they feel that for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to recover from that. So to see them turn around the way they have, it's tremendous.
Oh yeah, I love watching them play, and as I said, the best thing about it is it's not risky football that just happens to be paying off for them, and you're like, they just got this hot hand right now, because then you go, eventually that hot hand goes. Eventually the hot hand goes. It is just genuine. It's got enough flair in it. It's got enough risk in it, but at the same time, it's a good base that just can win footy matches at across the season.
Sorry, Guru.
No, you go.
So all very calculated. You talk about how crisp the backline movements are. They're pretty simple. Just block lead runners, play out back. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's all pretty high percentage footy. They're just doing it perfectly.
And they're also not just going all in on what we loved about Warriors footy in the early 2000s, as you said, throwing the ball around. It calculated is the perfect word for it.
So good.
But they still don't feel like you're watching Melbourne.
Yeah.
It still has a Warriors brand to it.
Exactly. It's a good point. They found that middle point of they're not trying to emulate Penrith. They're not trying to emulate 2002 Warriors or one or whatever it was. This is a amalgamation of what the squad is best at.
And I'll tell you, I know it's a small thing, but mate, compared to other clubs that you look at and whatnot, how happy do their players look? all the time.
Yeah.
I know social media and everything, you see what you want to see, but mate, like it just looks like such a positive place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Webster, he only needs probably 4 more games like this. It's lock for Rookie Coach of the Year. Lock.
Oh, yeah, shit in. Yeah.
He might even get it.
He'll be top 3 or 4 for Coach of the Year too, I think.
It's like seriously unbelievable what he's doing, and it's just incredible stuff. And imagine it, like let's say they make top 4 this year, and they get to
Imagine if they have a home semi-final over there.
craziness. Let's say they make top 4, and by some, they make a prelim. Let's just say a prelim, or even second week of the finals. Imagine the weight going into the market with that. Like, they've been going into the market with no weight, like with literally, please come to the Warriors, like, we'll give you overs to come. They'll be going into the market going, do you want to be part of something great? Which is just so much more exciting for the Warriors.
Yeah, and I think, like, during that COVID period, they made a number of very big signings, and I was so worried they'd come out of COVID and all those guys would go, we're going home now. And they've just managed to keep them all, essentially. Yep. And they look so happy to play there. Imagine if you had to go into a sudden death semi and go to Mount Smart.
Fuck that.
Imagine the crowd and, it'd be terrifying.
I wonder when the last time a final was held at Mount Smart. Maybe 2000.
I don't think they had one in the early 2000s. Did they?
Maybe 8.
Well, they knocked off Melbourne 8v1 back in the old final.
Was that in Melbourne though?
That was,
but I was going
Yeah.
to say, next week did they get a home one from there?
Yeah, that'd be
I don't
interesting.
know.
I'm not sure if they would have in 8th place because they would have played the higher place loser, which means they would have got
They
the
would
home
have got
final.
it probably.
Because they definitely, like, all their prelim finals in the early 2000s were all over here. When
It's
they beat the
a
Sharkies in
rough
02 and
finals
stuff.
game. That is a rough finals game. Like, going over there, whole country.
Is there a chance they haven't?
No. So 2008, the semi-final against the Roosters was at Mount Smart Stadium. They won 30-13.
Okay.
Was 08 the year they beat the Storm?
Yeah,
from
so they
eighth?
beat the Storm from 8th
did.
and then got the home final next
And
week.
then they got a home final the week after.
Yeah, because the
And
system
they towed
was-
the Roosters up.
Wow.
Yeah, 30-13. Yeah. Yeah. Then they lost the prelim to Manly.
And then the big sign with them, and it's been shit since. Nah, I'm joking.
We weren't going to bring it up.
Yeah, so Warriors, exciting. So exciting. The club looks like it's in a good spot. Everyone looks happy. Young coach. It is just such an exciting year for the Warriors. On to the Dragons. Look, I hate to say it, but it's honestly almost the opposite.
Yep.
Everything we just said about the Warriors, you go to the opposite of, like, recruitment, decisions, happiness, everything is off at the Dragons. It is absolutely disastrous at the moment. You've got your heart and soul player. He wants out. People not showing up to things, people showing up to things, mixed messaging. Like, the whole place right now needs a complete overhaul. Looks like a really, really unhappy, divided place. And you can see it by the way they played. They just were never in it.
Yeah. I'm not too sure what to say about the Dragons. There's talent there, but you're right, mate. It just looks like a bad environment there at the moment. Benny Hunt doesn't want to be there. There are a couple of shining lights there that I think the 9 looks unreal. Jacob Little. I was a bit. I don't understand why you would take Little off in the 57th minute and move Bud Sullivan to hooker to put Amon on the. I just think if you're not going to pick Tata Amon in the halves, I wouldn't have him in the side. That doesn't quite make sense to me. Dragons fans have complained for years about Bud Sullivan, and we've spoken about it for ages here, being wasted as a 9. It looks like he's going to be your halfback next year if he can't work all this out. And he jumps into hooker for the back end of the
So weird.
game.
Such
You've got
a weird
Mosen by in the
rotation.
squad. Pick him. I don't know.
But it's like even Little showing so much promise is actually bad because it's taken them this long to give him game time. It's like they were playing Moses Mbai, not a 9, also at the end of his career, over Little, genuine 9. You go back before his time at the Tigers, Guru, you can speak on it. He was a fucking gun coming out of school.
He was going to be the guy. He was an absolute weapon, Little, and then injuries, everything went wrong for him. But right now he looks to be in a real sweet spot, and I'm shocked they're not just putting him out there for 80 minutes. I personally can handle it.
It's just because he's injury-free. Every time in his career that he's strung games together, you start going, right, here it is, we're seeing his potential, bloke's a gun, gets injured.
But when I watched New South Wales Cup, like really closely back when I worked there, he was the best player in the comp pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, and it's like, what's mental is like, we could call this from a mile away. Like, he's had, let's say 6 full games where he's actually been given a shot and he's killing it. It's just how you could get this guy to the club and then not play him. It is a perfect example of where this club is at. A perfect example. And then even, to take him off 57th minute, like, bruh, just get him to play 80. Yeah, so the little situation, bizarre. Jack DeBellin worked his ass off in his 200th game. I don't even know what to say about the Dragons. It's just a disaster.
Yeah, and for me, when I was watching this game the other night, I thought the frustrations around the club were personified with Jack Bird's 3 to 4 errors. Just doing his best, but just coming up with absolute duck eggs in this game. You could see the frustration on the face of Jack Bird. Tough spot to be in. I
think it's just a really good example of the roster isn't the best roster on paper, but winning happens in the front office. And I'm sorry, this has not been a well-run club for a while now. So how can you expect these players? Now, I'm not absolving the players of responsibility. They went out and played poorly. But in any work environment, if you're being honest with yourself, all our listeners, when you are happy in a good working environment, you perform better. It is that simple. The environment at the Dragons right now is shocking. And it's been shocking for how long now? It's just issue after issue after issue. As I said, they need a complete, I'm not sure about overhaul because I don't know if people have come in that are new, but they need a review from an external party, not internal review, an external third-party review across the board, the whole thing. Everyone needs to be reviewed, and they need to find out why the club is currently not even in the position that they're in regards to ladder. Why is it so unhappy place? Why is so many things going wrong? Any business, you would get an external review. Internal reviews, in my opinion, they're not worth it because it's an internal review. You're reviewing yourself. You got to get someone else in to go, what is going on here? I think they did it a few years ago. Didn't they get Gus to try and review them?
So, yeah.
I'd be getting Guru in.
Get Guru in.
Send him into Dragons HQ, notepad and pen, just go through and just question everything.
Yep.
Deliver the results, and the results will come off the back of it.
Little will be playing 80 minutes for my Supercoach side very quickly. Trust me on that.
So, as I said, I'm not absolving the players of responsibility, but I am also saying they are not being given the best environment to be the best they can be. I remember at the Broncos, you had this sign before we ran out to the training field, and it basically said, we will provide you with everything. All you need to bring is a good attitude. And that's the mindset that clubs should be coming with, is that you guys rock up, everything is taken care of. The one thing we ask from you is to rip and tear for each other. That's it. And at the moment, it just doesn't really seem like that at the Dragons. Anything else on the Dragons, boys? Talk about bringing the mood down. Jesus Christ. Yep. Went from a bloody high, and I feel like I've been on beers for 3 days. All righty, now on to the next game. Eels v. the Dolphins. Before we get into it, though, look at this beautiful jumper. Next Monday, 6 p.m. Be there. This jumper, Timmy's wearing one, Maddie's wearing one. These two colours dropping 6 p.m. Monday. Very limited amount, so make sure to be there 6 p.m. Monday, bloke.shop. Also, don't forget the code for Menulog to get $10 off when you spend $30 is DWZ. And on top of all of that, if you're going to watch rugby league, watch it on 9 Now. That is right. 9 Now have all the best games, including Origin Live, exclusive, including the grand final. It's got the best commentary team, all the greatest content. You can you can go computer, Internet Explorer, your web browser, 9 Now there, or you can download an app on your phone and watch sport anytime, anywhere. There isn't just rugby league on there. There is so much content on there. That's 9 Now, guys. So make sure, if you've got both KO and 9 Now, do me a favour. If the game's on 9 now, just switch her over to 9 now. That helps us. The more numbers we get on 9 now, the bigger personalities from 9 we can get back on Bloke and do the interviews. And also, it's supporting Bloke. Let's get into it. Eels defeat the Dolphins 48-20. This is probably the first game where I thought, okay, the Dolphins, they're at that point where we thought it would come. It's just come a little bit later. Now, I do believe that they will bounce back. I don't think it's going to be a disaster for the rest of the year, but I do think it's a game where it's like, you know what, it's just been too much. Like the fairy tale has been, it's still going for sure, but it's just getting to the point where reality is striking in a little bit.
And to be completely fair, God, it's come later than we could have ever anticipated as well. So, full credit to the Dolphins. I still think, mate, Jeremy Marshall-King is such a big out from this side. I'm not saying they win or anything, but they are a completely different football side when he's not on the field for me.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like he genuinely was in the top 3, if you want to be super, I guess, conservative, top 5 form hookers of the game. Yep. So he's a huge out for them, everything around the ruck. But the Eels were absolutely outstanding. That first half, that's the grand finals Eels that we know. Will Bensini's try on UNA counts, holy shit. And I knew, I think he's a really good example. Whenever you hear us go, this 18-year-old, he'll grow into his body. As he gets older, he'll put on his man strength, in air quotes. If you ever want to watch a guy's career, Pensini, to see that happening in real time, it's Will Pensini. He came in the grade, was quality, but he wasn't busting tackles. He wasn't doing crazy. He was just doing his job and showed a bit of, there was a bit about him. Now, this year especially, he is genuinely throwing blokes around. I think it's been a few weeks now where he's had big moments of fending blokes. And there's a big reason why he came through with Suoliti, and, there were raps nearly equally on Pensini as Suoliti. That's how good Pensini was. And I think we're starting to see it.
Yeah, I got a text from a mate after this game saying, geez, the Wallabies might have signed the wrong Newington centre.
Mate.
So I did the same thing. I laughed and I thought,
well, they would have got him for way less. They would have got him for way less. You'd bang for buck.
Yeah, I love him and your centre have really come on this year for me and have turned into genuine proper strike centres. For me, the issue with Parramatta, and this was my issue all last year, they didn't have the outside backs that I trusted. Will Pensini's come into the side, and out of all of them, obviously except Gutho, out of all the other centres and wingers, he's the one I trust by far and away.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I just think we're just seeing the start of it. To do the things he's doing physically, what is he, 20 now? He's going to be, he might even be still 19. Can you check his age? Turned 20 this year. When he's 23, 24, he'll be fucking throwing blokes.
Yeah, he's about to turn 21.
So he's only turning 21.
And I've said it before, he stepped into the shoes of Michael Jennings. No one spoke about it.
Yeah, no one even spoke about it.
There was no hole left there. It was unbelievable.
He's 18 years old when he did it too. The physicality and just seeing what he's getting more confident, realising he can impact games. I just think, Will Pensini. Obviously, we had Val as in the centre of the week and obviously Peachy. But you could easily swap in Pensini. He was fucking good.
Yeah, he was fantastic. The 5'8", Assie, I think he's come in and done a tremendous job. He would be my other centre moving forward if they've got the full team back. But I would have had him in the centres 10 weeks ago.
Assie, they haven't missed a beat. The player he replaced is one of the better players, top 3 in his position in the game. And Assie looks, I would still, go with the original if everything clears up, whatever. But Assie is, they're not missing a beat as a team, going forward. Their structures, their speed around the ruck, their formations, they're getting to points on field. He is nailing it.
Yeah, and he's not even a 5'8". He's just a good footballer.
Yeah, wow.
Awesome, bench utility option for them as well if they want.
Yeah.
It's obviously a little bit harder when they have the 2 hooker rotation, but, we've seen plenty of times in the last couple of seasons Josh Hodgson spend time at 13. So to have Arcee there who can come on and play from anywhere from 1 to 7, genuine option. And Parramatta's attack at the moment, to have done it without Dylan Brown. They've scored 34-plus points in 4 of their last 5 games. Best attack in the NRL by points scored, 27.5 per game. They are just absolutely firing at the moment. They, in a time where, I know it's only 1 week, but we've seen in recent times the Bunnies are going downhill a little bit. Hardly panic signs about the Broncos, but they got done. Parramatta, they're starting to peak when it matters, and that's later on in the year.
Yeah, it's such a typical Parramatta thing. Like this squad, like you count them out, and they have these dire weekends where you're going, oh my, who is this team? And then they come out next week and you're like, oh, they could win the comp. And it's just like, fuck, you just can't count this team out. You know, Regan Campbell-Gillard hasn't even hit his straps yet. Mitchell Moses, hasn't he just turned into an out-and-out consistent top 3-7 in the game? Like out and out, week in, week out, over the last 2 years, very rarely is he not one of the best sevens of the round.
And this is where I think it makes it harder and harder the longer Josh Hodgson's out and the more Brendan Hands plays and it's just Mitch Moses' ball. For me, those arguments just get stronger and stronger.
It's me personally, and I was already, calling for it quite early. It's Hands' jersey, that number 9, in my opinion. I know he's got surgery. We're back 6 to 8 weeks. But, like, if I'm Para, what I would be doing is I'd be hoping Hodgson returns to his best footy, but my plans would be Hands is the guy going forward.
Because they re-signed Hodgson the other day. I believe it was a player option, though. It could be
a player option, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, interesting times.
Yeah. I think that... I don't think they would have signed him for that much, if I'm being honest. I don't reckon they signed him for massive overs. And I just think that going forward, like you've got this young guy, 23, 24 years old. In the last 4 matches since he started, what did you say the average was they've scored?
27.5 points per game this season and 34 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games when Hands would have obviously played substantially
bulk minutes. Plus, we talk about the attack, but his defence, which is Hodgson sometimes struggles, and obviously he was struggling, he had a neck injury. 28 tackles, 0 misses for Hands. So defensively, he's really sound.
And something we harped on about all pre-season was that, it's not to say Hodjo's been bad by any means, but Hodjo being such a playmaking hooker and takes a lot of ball out of damn half, takes it on, kicks, creates. Parramatta have so much strike between Brown, Moses, Gutho. They only needed a solid hooker, gives good service, and knows his role. They didn't need another really playmaker at a number 9, and it's like with Hands there now. It's showing that.
Just before we move off the hookers too, Kemp, I think it's worthwhile just giving Mitch Rain a little shout out. He retired during the week. 210 first grade games across 4 clubs. Never like a rep footballer or anything, but fuck, he was solid for a long time, Mitchy Rain, and one of the good guys.
The Rain Dog, Milch, many a bender with the Rain Dog. Many a bender. Very, very good guy. Yeah, he has literally a split personality. Day 2, very different bloke to day 1. Let's just put it that way. His nickname is Milch, and he's an absolute fucking menace. Absolute menace. But yeah, Rainey, really one of the good guys. Absolute legend. One of those guys that he could have played no NRL games or 200 NRL games. Same bloke. Same cruisy legend of the bloke. And I honestly think if a few things had gone right or his direction maybe earlier on, I think he could have gone a little bit better in his career. I know he became more of a bit of a battler of come in, do a job. But there was a period there where he was on the trajectory to be a really good, high-quality 9. Now, he was still a quality 9. And then 210 games at 9. Like, it's nothing to sniff at.
Yeah, I think we quite often as fans, I think we look at, you look at guys play 10 first grade and you go, I only played 10 games. It's like, playing 1 is Everest.
It really is.
Playing 210 is off the charts. Like, that is... playing 210 games would put him in the top 1% probably. Yeah,
absolutely. And he just goes about his business, does his job. Massive congratulations to Rainey. Junior Bowler, 2 line break assists on the weekend.
30 minutes.
Yeah, so good. What about Bryce Cartwright? Mate.
Unreal.
If you had said to me, I'll bet you $10,000 Bryce Cartwright will be a gun starting edge back row for the Eels in 2023, I would have said, I'll give you 2-1 odds. You bet me 10 grand, I'll give you 20 grand. There's not a chance in hell that is happening. He has been if he had the fanfare, we'd be talking about it a lot. But he is truly one of the great redemption stories of 2023, 2022. I cannot believe this is the same Bryce Cartwright as a few years ago. Like, this is... He went from one of the most talented, skillful, can ball play, everything, Now he has turned himself into a battler. And so Sean Johnson is the pin-up boy for this kind of turnaround. And he would still be the pin-up boy. He's the number one. But when you're talking about forwards, there's not many forwards that have turned their career around the way Bryce Cartwright has in 2023.
Yeah, it's crazy to look at who he is now from when he came into first grade. And if you were lucky enough to watch him come through, like my best mate played Harold Matt's Knights, and he said that when they were playing at home and they were versing Penrith, the bus would pull up and they'd stare at the bus because Bryce could play Harold Matt's SG ball or 20s if he wanted to. It just depended which team he played in that day. And they said that they'd sit there and they'd watch the bus. And Bryce Cartwright would always sit on the back seat of the bus, so he'd always be the last one off. And if the door closed and there was no Bryce, they went, "Sweet, we're going to win today."
No way.
If Bryce got off the bus, they just went, "Oh, fuck." And the SG ball team went, "God, how good's this? We're home today." He was that good.
Mate, he was so fucking good. So fucking good.
And unlike pre-season concern, we had Parramatta losing Isaiah Papali'i. Sean Lane was out for the start of the season. I think they started with Matt Dury and Cartwright on the edge. Like, geez, they're losing a lot of their strike. And so much of their footy was tailored around their two hard-running line-back rowers. Cardi, he gets better every single week.
3 line break assists. 3 line break assists as an edge-back rower. Unbelievable.
And, Sean Lane's played 6 games all year.
Yeah.
Cardi's just been that stable back rower for him all season.
And once again, credit to Brad Arthur.
I was about to say, he doesn't get the credit.
The shit that should have gone wrong this year, the hooker that he signed hasn't quite worked out. Ryan Madison missed the start of the season. He's without halves. He's without guys left, right and centre. They signed Joel Fengawi a few weeks ago. He hasn't fired a shot because of injury. Sweet.
All good. I think Brad Arthur does not get enough credit for his player development.
Yep.
Mitchell Moses came to the club a shell of the player he is today. Mitchell Moses came to the club as an incredible attacking player. But in patches. Sometimes he would be too lateral. Sometimes he would go for the big play. Brad Arthur has a huge part of Mitchell Moses' development. Gutho came to the club, didn't even know what he was. Was he a 6, a winger, a centre, a fullback? Gutho, one of the most consistent players in the comp. We've seen, Junior Bolo, he has gone to another level. Regan Campbell-Gillard came from Penrith, could barely get a start at Penrith. Looked like his career was almost over. Now, he's on his day, him and Bolo, they match it with any front row combination.
Isaiah Papali'i.
Sean Lane, Bryce Cartwright. There is just person after person that Brad Arthur has developed, and he just doesn't get the credit he deserves. Put it this way, let's say the Eels just missed the 8 this year, there'll be calls through his head because it just seems.
It was calls through his head when he got dousted up in the grand final last year.
I know, it is just this guy is taken this team from spoon to where we see him right now, genuine premierships 2 years in a row. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
And you have a look at Hopgood too. Obviously, he was playing reserve grade for Penrith, who were winning the comp there. There's 15 other teams that could have signed Hopgood.
Yep.
Brad Arthur was the one that addressed it. And I obviously spend a bit of time at Harold Matt's and SG ball games and everything. Mate, he's at every third game I go to.
Oh,
he's
really?
just hovering around, just watching things
That's
all
interesting.
the time.
That's it, because you don't really see head coaches there that much.
No, I remember at the start of the year I was at a Bears Newcastle Knights game and he was sitting there behind the try line, notepad out. He's around.
Did you give him a wink?
Said, "Get off my turf."
Just go, mate. There's only one room for one lion in the jungle, baby. Hey? Fucking.
One lunatic in the asylum, thanks. Get out.
But did you rock up for under 15s though? So you're like, mate, I've been here fucking 4 hours.
I've been here since yesterday.
Yeah, so fucking don't come to me about you love your rugby league. You fucking poser, Brad Arthur. Outside of that, look, one thing I did want to talk about. Sivo. What is it? Is he his 3rd fine for dangerous contract? 4th. You got to get suspended. It's outrageous. I don't care. I don't care what the legality, the fucking this, that. Mate, 4 times dangerous contact. Love Sivo. You should be suspended. That's craziness to me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Well, Nia Corey is facing 3 to 4 weeks for that high shot. I remember when I saw it and then I saw 3 to 4 weeks, I was like, 3 to 4 weeks? What's going on? It was like his 3rd or 4th offence for it. So they come down hard on it.
Yeah. How does he get a fine again? It's the 4th time. Clearly, it's Suoli'i he got suspended.
Same boat, yeah.
It's worse. See, Suoli'i didn't get 4 fines for kneeing people in the head. unbelievable that he continued. And I know he's a big boy. Like, he's a fucking big boy. So, like, heads land around his elbows to a degree. But 4 fines, mate, you got to be suspended at least for a couple of weeks after 4 fines. Or 3 if you were going to go on the 4th. Is this his 5th or is it 4th?
Well, it's his 5th if you include all the suspensions, but just dangerous contact, it's 4th. So he got round 2, dangerous contact, round 3, contrary conduct, so whatever. Round 4, dangerous contact, round 15, dangerous contact, and now round 17, dangerous contact.
I mean, that's so bizarre. And, like, you look at some players that, like, for example, and I know he came back and did something silly, but, like, you go back and you look at Kafusi, who got, what do you get, 3 or 4 weeks for the Jackson Hastings, and you go, how is that fair? How is that fair? So,
Rugby league.
Oh, mate, makes no sense. No sense. But yeah, incredible from the Eels. Incredible stuff. They are. Look, they're there or thereabouts this year. That's for sure. Onto the Dolphins. Look, there isn't really much to say except for a few quick things because I think we all agree. I think everyone watching this is just like, look, this is a gallant effort. They have been decimated by injury. They've shown us way more than we ever expected. Quick things to talk about though. McGrady scoring on debut, and he's like scored 1 million tries in reserve grade or whatever. He's He's
Ewan McGrady's nephew. So Ewan McGrady won the Rothmans medal in 91.
We'll say it though, bro. Flick pass debut. Hold the flick pass on the debut. Just hold it. Hold it for maybe game 2. Game 2, no. I mean, that's what makes these guys such good try scorers because they're willing to take the risk. But yeah, obviously, just put it in the pocket for game 1. But great footwork for his try. Great footwork for his try. That was a subtle bit of footwork that wasn't this huge like Benji step, but just that's like the difference between a good finisher and just a winger that is a meter eater. A finisher can make little half chances like that work. So massive congratulations.
And a shout out to him as well, and maybe he has, but in every bit of footage I've ever seen, that's the first time I've ever seen him on the left wing.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, that's fucking fair. Hamiso, Jesus. When he made that break and got ankle tap, my heart broke because I was like, I just want to see. Just glide. Just glide. Hasn't he just obviously got the 2 tries, ran for 279 metres, 8 tackle breaks.
When Isako flicked that ball back inside to him, he just that was glasses down on the 30. That was done.
Mate.
As you said, just glides.
Just glides. And I swear to God, he still hasn't. I just want to see a grimace on his face. I just want to see him grimacing to show that he's like at top speed because we haven't seen it yet. Like his face is just like.
He also on that play when he started to run, like Mitch Moses was just inside him. Mitch is lightning. He just knew he couldn't get close to him.
I'm telling you, go back and watch the Stephen Crichton intercept. Watch Hamiso, and it's just like, and then kind of takes him out a little bit. It is like unbelievable how quick he is. Jermaine Asako. At the very least, he ran for another 178 metres, which is incredible, but just that little play, boom, footwork, flick back inside, overs, right foot step, flick, unbelievable the footy he's playing, unbelievable.
He looks so classy at all times this year, but if he can just put it together for the rest of his career, Osako.
Fuck, he's still in like 26 or some shit, 27.
I'd love to see too, and you would never move Hamiso out of fullback, but I'd love to see Osako play fullback under Wayne.
Yeah.
He might not be playing his best position.
Yeah, which is like under anyone else, I'm like not a fullback, winger. But how good he's gone under Wayne in the wing, I'm like maybe what could you do? But
I definitely think he's a fullback. But like, if someone said put Junior Barlow to fullback under Wayne, though, I'd be like Wayne could probably make it. Wayne could turn him into a fullback.
Yeah, Wayne could make it work. So look, outside of that. Very forgettable afternoon. Second half, they fought back, which is great. Very Dolphins-esque kind of performance where they're just never out of it. Well, to a degree, never out of it. But yeah, not much more to say, to be honest with you.
They've been resilient all season, the Dolphins, in so many different ways, Kempy, but the one that just keeps getting them caught out, and it's a credit to them to have gone this long, but just Nikorima and Isaiah Katoa in the halves defensively, they're such small bodies, and they have a crack every week, but it's just such an easy game plan for oppositions. Just go at them, go at the 3-man. and you saw them on the weekend, they'd go there, even if they did get the body in front, they were just popping offloads. And the push support from Gutho and Moses was there every time. The game plan just writes itself against them at the moment. Sean O'Sullivan coming back in will help that once he gets a bit of match fitness under his belt. But yeah, it's tough.
It shows you how far Moses has come, though, like to identify that and just go at it all day. Whereas, like, Moses 3 or 4 years ago, he had the same game plan for every game, and it was just like out-skill the opponent. Now Moses is like identifying players and going, you're getting it all day, and we're going to break you apart.
Outthink, don't outskill.
Yeah, exactly.
Which sounds easy, get at these two smaller guys. So much harder
to
actually pull off in an 8 when you got 13 guys exhausted and gassed to get at guys.
And also, when you would be surprised at how many players, NRL standard, get out there, get the ball in their hands, and they want to play for themselves. Like, I want to make the big play. I want to step through players and bump off players and have all of these big moments. You'd be surprised how many players do that. Whereas a good team, we'll get to Penrith, we're about to get to them, everyone knows their role. It's not a selfish like, oh, I want to make 200 metres this game. It's, look, I'm happy to make 70 metres if that's my role. Perfect example, David Feeder, Origin 2, his role, run straight at Mitchell Moses. That's all he did.
And I think over the years there's been a number of guys like that at Parramatta, and I think Brad Arthur has slowly got rid of them all.
Yep, agreed. And now he's got a bunch of blokes that stick to the game plan. Let's get to the next game. Penrith Panthers defeating the Knights. I just want to say, well, two things. Knights, really, really disappointing. The fact that, Panthers had that many players out, for sure, all that. I just want to say, though, Ivan Cleary does not get even a speck of sand of the accolades he deserves. This is a guy that not only has had players move on, lost them to bigger contracts. We're talking about Kikau, we're talking about Apikorosau. He lost both his assistant coaches. And then the year before that, he lost his assistant coach. When they won the comp the first time, it was all Trent Barrett. Trent Barrett did everything. That was the yarn coming out of papers. Oh, Trent Barrett's crazy attacking. That's why Cleary's playing so well, Nathan Cleary. Then the next year, it's like, Serraldo's the guy. He's the next big thing. And Serraldo is going to be a great coach, for sure. He loses 3 assistant coaches in 2 years, and he still is on top, and no one's talking about it.
Mate, there's even an argument before that. He lost his 5'8", who was pretty much an assistant coach, James Maloney.
Yes. No one is like, when you talk about the best coaches in the comp, very few people bring up Ivan Cleary. And yet he is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's not his assistants. He is responsible for the team that he has around him. It is mainly Ivan Cleary. Obviously, he has a team around him. I'm not discrediting people that work there. But the guy is Ivan Cleary. He's the guy at the club doing this right now. It's absolutely phenomenal what Ivan Cleary is doing.
Yeah, and if he manages to win this competition this year, becomes the first coach since Jack Gibson to win 3 in a row.
And he made a
it's 3 from 4, so 4 grand finals.
He made a really important point that Timmy's going to fucking froth over. He said after the game, is it time that we move past Origin players backing up? Which is, obviously there's a bias with him because Cleary had the soft tissue injury after Origin. But I think I kind of agree with him. I think it might be time that at least maybe not the younger Origin players that, their bodies are a bit more malleable, but when you're getting over that 26, 27 age, I don't think you should be backing up.
Timmy was like Leo sitting on the lounge with a can of beer.
Yeah.
That's me. I said that.
Ivan taking Cleary for my insights again. But look at the weekend. So I was so stoked to see Ivan do that and rest those players. Look at the sides that rested players from Origin on the weekend. Penrith got home comfortably. Titans rested Tino for Malawi in a game they were big underdogs in. They got the job done without Tino. What that does for the confidence of the Titans as well, enormous. Melbourne Storm rested Cameron Munster. They got home. Like, I don't know if there are any sides that rested players that didn't get a win on the weekend. There might have been someone there, but 3 from 3 from what I can see.
Yeah, it's a good point. They're saying that Cam Munster had a bit of Caxtonitis. They reckon, he was sick. Sick of beers.
Flu.
Sick of having 1,000 beers.
Been there.
And then, what that'll do for these clubs and those players in the back end of the year when fatigue sets in and they're gassed, particularly Penrith because they've gone back-to-back premierships, World Cup, so many games. I know it's only small, but 1 week off in the middle of the year when it would have been back-to-back games in 3 or 4 days, it just helps so much.
Caxtonitis is tough too because the only cure is the Caxton.
Yeah.
yeah.
And he couldn't get back up
Just got to
there.
go back.
And I mean, to bring a guy like Cogger in and to do the job that Cogger's done, like, he nearly kicked for 560 metres and, and no disrespect to Jack Cogger, but another bloke that probably struggles to get a contract at a lot of clubs comes in and, of course, they're nowhere near the attacking threat they have with Cleary, but they're still a bloody good footy team that even like this, with their players rested, they could take it to any side in the comp. Now, they may get beaten by some of the big dogs, but this is how good their systems are. This is how good their buy-in is from everyone, is the fact that they can rest their guys and essentially win every game that they've rested them or not been there.
I feel like the theme of this week has been just the resurgence of former greats.
Yes.
And you boys touched on him earlier, but Tyrone Peachey.
Oh, mate.
Isn't he just the prototype Penrith outside back at the moment? Comes in, just big work rate plays that go and go and go. 18 runs for 208 metres. You add in the flashy stuff, couple of tries, try assist. You boys said it before. He's just the perfect fit for the Penrith Panthers and what they need.
Oh, mate. When they made that signing, I was like, I don't know about that because I haven't seen even really glimpses of good footy from Peachy in quite a while. And on top of that, like, where does he even play for them? Like, they've got a stack of outside backs. Like, where do you fit him in? Like, as a 14, maybe if there's injuries, but they've got Salmon for that. So it's like, and what do you know? The best system in the comp right now, Penrith, turn him into, he had that one error like last week, so everyone was on Peachy, but he came out and he's been phenomenal.
Looks like a well-beater again.
Mate, it's unbelievable. Who else we got here? I thought Dylan Edwards was really good from the back there. Just worked his ass off, and he's just such a crucial part of the systems that they have. I think that, games that he hasn't played in, I'd love to know what their record is or at least points scored because he has become such a vital part of their team, whereas I think a couple of years ago he was more of a kind of like a second-tier player. Like you've got Cleary, you got Fisher-Harris, your big dogs like that, but he has really moved into a lot of Panthers fans now, if they were going into, say, a grand final without Edwards, they'd be going, oh, my God, like, fuck. Whereas I think a couple of years ago, they go, oh, no, Critter can fill that goal. We got, Taruva can fill that role. Whereas right now, it's like, oh, no, he's irreplaceable.
Well, you talk about their record without him, and I don't have it in front of me. I can guarantee you, like in the last 3 years, they've lost 2 finals games. One was in 2020, the grand final. The other one was week 1 against South Sydney, where Dill Edwards was out and Critter stepped in.
So was Dill Edwards out for the grand final in 2020?
No, I'm saying that was one of the games they lost. But the only other one they've lost is when Dylan Edwards didn't play against South Sydney, right, Matty? And Critter stepped in. So
have you got there up there or not really? It's hard to find. Yeah, sweet. So outstanding. Isaac Tango, another guy that was injured for a little bit, and you almost forgot how important this guy is to the side. Comes back in. It's like the Taumalolo situation to a lesser degree where you go, oh, Isaac Tango, one of the better centres in the competition.
Yep.
Just fucking runs for 1,000 metres, great defender, super strong, good kicking game, short kicking game.
10 tackle breaks.
Yeah, like 258 metres, 92 post contact.
Jesus.
I
Unbelievable.
thought, and it has been for the last few weeks, we say his name every week, but I thought Scotty Sorensen again.
The man.
Amazing.
Another guy, basically a fringy when he came to the club, almost a fringy for the first couple of years at the club, and being in that system for longer and longer, just getting better and better. It is just amazing.
We say the same things over and over again with Penrith, but like after they just played the perfect brand of footy for this, right? They've got 5-6 key players, or not key players, their best players out of the team, and they just simplify things. They play high percentage football. They completed it 100% after 53 minutes.
I know, it's crazy.
And they finished at 90%. They said, we will not let you into this game. We'll back our defence. You won't beat us.
And it's almost like, you're right, it's a great point where they're basically saying, we know that you will just break. We believe that we're just going to complete at a super high rate, and we don't think that you have the concentration to go with us for 80 minutes. And that's exactly what happened. They just wore them down, and Knights didn't have enough attacking flair to break them apart.
It's also just like the mindset of coming into this game with all these guys rested. Like you could tell Penrith, obviously Dill Edwards is one guy to look at. As you said, Isaac Tungo's another one. He's in game 11 of his second full season. And they just look at him and go, Okay, you're one of the guys this week. We know you'll do a job.
Mental. Absolutely mental. Like Eisenhuth come in and fucking run for 158 metres, 20 runs in 61 minutes. Like Eisenhuth's a guy that couldn't get a bloody bench spot a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, the Panthers, it's almost, I guess it'd be boring for Panthers fans at this stage talking about them because you say the same thing every bloody week.
Yeah, and we'll say the same thing in 6 weeks.
It's just like you almost can just play each thing. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing what they're doing.
I think it is good for Penrith that they are able to pick up these games during the origin period as well, because Nath's going to come back around 21 or whatever. Probably means that they will be able to rest guys towards the back end of the season, which will be big
I
for
will
them.
say, and this is more Matty Johns that did speak about this, so it is a little bit different because it's a hamstring rather than a shoulder. So I think with the Cleary situation, you almost want to rest him for as long as you can. Like if it's a 6-week injury, let's just make it an 8-week injury because
Definitely.
you don't even want to get like even if he is full pace at training. Usually, what you do with hamstrings is once you can do everything at full pace, you give it an extra week. If I'm the Panthers, once he can do everything at full pace and everything, I want 2 weeks of full training before I even put him in there because A, we know they're going to make the top 4. B, the last thing you need is for him to re-injure it around 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I just reckon they'd be hyper cautious with him, just hyper cautious.
Sounds like they pretty much have to pin Nath down to stop him from playing.
I know, but it's for the better of the team. Just keep telling him that, mate. This is actually for the betterment of the team.
And it's also Nathan Cleary, like, when he comes back in, it'll take him all of about 7 minutes to click back into gear and get those combinations fluent again.
Last year it took a half a footy.
Yeah.
I was of the, I don't know if you agree with me, Guru, but I was of the mind of like, oh, I'm worried about the Panthers because those combinations don't just snap back into gear. They've both been out for, let's say, 7 weeks, whatever it was, half a footy.
Yeah. Like a bit of Lego. Just bang,
Sweet,
we're sweet.
Bang, sweet, and then they scored like fucking 30 points and a half. It was unbelievable. So incredible from Panthers. Now onto the Knights. Extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. Look, it's good that it was only 20-12. They didn't get blown off the park, but it just the fact that they were missing so many players, the fact that they completed at 62%. You're not even giving yourself a hope in hell of beating Penrith. Like it's almost a credit to them that Penrith only scored 20 points. Or you could look at even worse of, we completed at 62%, Penrith could still only score 20 points and we couldn't beat them. Like that's how, not lethal they were without Luai, without Cogger, and we still couldn't beat them. 62%. The Panthers had 57% of the possession. They were in with the ball in their hand 33 minutes compared to 25 minutes. The Panthers ran for 2,000 metres. The Knights ran for 1,500. 5 line breaks to 3. It's just really disappointing for the Knights. This was a game that they needed to win to stay in touch with, just to keep their season alive and to come out 62. Like let's say this, they come out, it's a night, they completed 85%, Panthers completed 90%. I could go, yep, cool. But it's the fact that your season's on the line, you completed 62%.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's frustrating me with Newcastle. I think KP is so talented, so gifted. I love him, but I just can't work out why he is standing where he is standing sometimes. I feel like sometimes when I'm watching it on TV, it's obviously different when you're out there, but I see Hastings setting them up to go to the left, and then I feel like every time I just see KP just work his way over to the right. I just feel like he is always not where the ball's going. I don't know if it's a KP thing, a Hastings thing, an O'Brien thing. I've got no idea who's at fault for this, but do you guys feel the same? I just feel like when there's big players on the line, quite often KP is not in the picture.
Well, he had 14. I know they had less possession for sure, but he had 14 runs, like for 98 metres.
And it took me back to the other week. Like I was sick after it happened, so I missed it. But they had those 2 shots to win the game. Was it against you guys a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, and he got in the scrum.
KP feeds the scrum, and then they tap the ball, and he stood with his hands on his hips behind. And I was just like, "Fuck, what's going on here?" This is not only is he your best player, he's your club captain.
And when he's playing, he's one of the best players in the comp.
Without a doubt, there's no questioning his ability
He
here.
missed 8 tackles on the weekend. Made 5, missed 8.
But then he goes and when he does play Origin, I've never once sat there in Origin gone, oh, he's out of position. Why is he standing there? But he gets there with Newcastle, and like it's not like he's playing 5'8", he's playing fullback. He can go where he wants. And I just can't make sense of where he is at different times. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's really strange because he's been so freaking good for 4 weeks. And then the only thing I can think of is he was crook. He's sick. Like, because like the last few weeks, I agree with you, the Broncos game, like when the game was on the line, I don't know why he's not out on the edges to attack in that. But at the very least, he was still having moments where he was injecting himself into the game. The whole thing is bizarre.
Every time he injects himself, he makes a difference.
I know, it's crazy. He's so good. He's so good. I don't know what happened maybe he's injured on the weekend, but you're right. When I look at a guy like Reece Walsh, and we'll get to Reece Walsh in regards to the way he plays, but like I can cop like Reece Walsh getting too emotional and doing too much. I'd almost rather that than not doing enough. Because I just think that's where KP, when KP came into the grade, he was obviously a bit lighter. He was built for 5'8" this year. You know, he was in everything. You couldn't get your eyes off him. And I just think sometimes he just doesn't get as involved as you might need him to. And it might sound strange because you go, well, hang on a sec. What about Latrell Mitchell? He doesn't really take this many runs or whatever, but Latrell Mitchell ices so many. Like he's in the position he needs to be in all the time.
All the time.
Maybe not in defence, but in attack.
And and maybe that means that South Sydney are working towards Latrell better than what Newcastle are. As I said, I don't know if it's a Newcastle problem, a KP problem. I don't know if Hastings is taking too much control. I don't know what it is, but I don't understand when they do. Like, if you get on a 3-on-2 position, is there anyone worse to defend than KP?
Mate, unbelievable.
Because he's never put in those spots, or he never puts himself in those spots. I don't know what it is, but I don't know how after that Broncos game they didn't sit there and go, whoever's fault this is, how the fuck is that possibly happening?
Well, I think you got to lay blame on everyone in the spine, really, because they're clearly not communicating with each other. Like whoever is fault, whether it's Gambles, Hastings, Crosslands or Pongers, they are barely communicating.
And I'm happy to say, it could be these guys, but I think at the end of the day, your club captain, he needs to just inject himself.
Yeah,
he needs to be injecting himself. I think at the end of the day, it does come down to KP. Might be injured, might be sick. I don't know, but he's just got to do more than what he's doing at the moment.
Well, put it this way: you're on $1.4 million. You got to deliver.
Yep.
You got to deliver. And look, I think he had been delivering for the last 3 games, but it's gotten to the point now with KP, it's got to be every week for a long period of time. We just haven't seen it for quite a while, for a long period of time.
I watch him when he defends on the line, and he had a few missed tackles in defence on the weekend, but he was putting his body there every single time on the line. And I look at how urgent he is in defence, pulling guys and talking to guys, but then they get the ball, what he's a magician at, and it's very lacklustre, and he's very, I don't know, it's just frustrating for me to watch.
I think for years he's been not utilised properly by the Knights, and I think what I mean by that is I just think he runs the sweeping play at the back with the lead runner all the time, and defences, unless it's perfect, defences will just slide off and then they have the numbers and he's got to create something out of nothing. Give him the ball at first receiver, flat, fast, no lead runners, retreating defence, or even just like a slightly passive retreating defence line. And that's where you mentioned before, Guru, he's the best in the competition when he's got a 3-on-2. I think he's the best in the competition when he has a 3-on-3. He skins his man every time.
Yeah.
As long as the defence is like slightly on the back foot, he gets them. So to do that, you've got to be getting the ball straight off the ruck, straight off the play of the ball, firing flat. He gets them like every time. Yet continually, it's just always playing deep, sweeping out the back. It does my head in.
Yeah, and that, when I see that, I go, we see him in Queensland, and he is just a monster, an absolute monster in that jersey. And also, we saw him for patches over the last 3 weeks, just a monster. But yes, I'm starting to ask questions about Adam O'Brien's tactical decisions sometimes and the way they're playing as a team. They've been gritty at times this year, at times not so gritty. But I just think tactically sometimes, like for example, last week the game was there to be won, and they just couldn't ice it. They could not ice it, and I just wonder, does that need to change? Is Adam O'Brien's approach to the the way or style of footy that he's trying to play. Because, like, what is Newcastle's DNA style of footy? I couldn't tell you.
You look at
week to week.
Yeah, you look at saying, KP's not getting in the right positions. They can't ice games. What's going wrong? Like, Hastings is one of the better game managers going around. And then you can't help but just feel like they've, week in, week out, shot themselves in the foot not having a genuine backup number 9. Phoenix Crossland has done a super admirable job slotting in there, but to ask a bloke who, as far as I know, has played in the halves his entire career, to go in and he's a big minute hooker. He's been playing 80 minutes at hooker for them.
They got rid of Randall.
Yeah, he played about 47 on the weekend, had a HIA and was potentially not going to come back on. But he's not number 9, and as I said, he's done a great job, but he's playing out of position, and not just playing out of position. He'd be fine if he was like a bench utility and he was coming on and deputising for 20, 30 minutes, but when he's asked to go big minutes there, the decision-making, the game awareness, it's not there in that position for him, which is so different to the halves.
Yeah. You're right. Like, he's done a great job from the perspective of he fucking has a red-hot crack. But from a perspective of high-level NRL standard, unfortunately, it's just not his position. He's getting thrown into the wolves, to try and make it work. And we spoke about this at the start of the year, and I'll speak about it again. I think that they're paying the price for poor roster management. They really, really are. The fact that Lockie Miller is sitting in reserve grade now, the fact that they got rid of Randall, who would have been perfect for them right now. I mean, why they would get rid of Randall when Brayley is coming back off an ACL is absolutely mind-blowing. On top of that, Leo Thompson is being forced to move into the middle, and he's shown some really promise of learning that position and getting better. I know it almost feels unfair to talk about still because we've spoken about it so much, but you are clearly short on front rowers. Why would you get rid of your under-19 New South Wales front rower for a guy now sitting in reserve grade? This was the problem we spoke about before it even happened. So it's not hindsight hero. This is, unfortunately, I believe this roster is paying the price for poor management, in my opinion.
You'd think that if, let's say, Ben Hunt ends up at the Broncos next season or even this season, surely one of these like Corey Pax or probably not Billy Walters, but maybe Billy Walters or Blake Moser. They got so many hookers, the Broncos. What the Knights would give for any one of them right now.
Oh, mate. It'd be just invaluable.
If I don't know if they've got the roster spot available or if they'd have to cull someone to get Ben Hunt. If he does end up in this season, wouldn't shock to see one of them blokes go down for the end of the year.
Jack Hetherington, I know people like to call it soft because he only slapped him, and I get it. I get it. Back in the day, you let it go and the game keeps playing. But geez, man, just silly. So
it's not
silly.
Back in the day, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you know what's going to cost your team.
Yeah,
you're playing Penrith at Penrith. You can't afford to do that. Full stop.
It's just what? Come on, bro. How many times? I get it. The reason Jack Hetherington's a good NRL player is because he's hyper aggressive, and I love it. I love watching it, but at some point you've got to learn the lesson of I'm letting my mates down. I'm letting the brothers down by doing this.
You can be hyper aggressive and still play smart footy though.
Yeah, it's just and then you look at Jacob Saifidi. He's coming off the bench. You've got Leo Thompson starting. You've got Daniel Saifidi only playing 34 minutes, 7 hit-ups. Ran for 88 metres. Jacob ran for 68 metres. These are supposed to be your marquee big boys. And I can't help but shake the feeling that those two big fellas, maybe under different coaching, would be a bit further along. Maybe I'm totally wrong and it's purely on the players and it's their fault. And it is their fault. It's always their fault because you're the one out there playing. But what did we say when they lost Clemmer? It is now the Saifidi's job to step up and take that role. They'd kill for Clemmer right now.
Sure, and that's where, you said before, they're obviously short front row forwards. I have a look at their squad. I'm not sure if they are short front row forwards. I think they're just all underachieving at the moment, which might be worse, realistically.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I just think it's been poor roster management. They're going to be feeling that pain for quite a while. Obviously, KP, he's had an incredible month of footy on the weekend. A little bit disappointing, quite disappointing. He's on $1.4 million reportedly, so it needs to be week in, week out, high quality performances. And yeah, their roster's a complete schmozzle. Like, it really is. They need front rowers, in my opinion, or at least they need their front rowers to reach their potential or close to it. They need a 9. They need a 6.
Like, they need all these things, and meanwhile, they've got Kurt Mann in the squad, and they've still got no idea what he is.
Yeah. So
surely at some point when you got all these holes, you would have said to Kurt Mann, hey, this is your focus now to fill this hole. You're talented enough to do it.
That's what I don't get. We're like, okay, you got rid of Randall. Dingo's coming back from an ACL. Brayley. Kurt Mann, you are training at hooker all off season. Like, that's where you're training. Because what we'll do is we'll have you at 14 and we won't play Brayley 80 minutes. We'll use you as impact out of hooker. And then when it comes to Brayley getting injured, Phoenix Crossland, you slip into 14. Kurt Mann, you know what I mean? Like, or you start Phoenix Crossland for 20 minutes and then you bring on...
Share the role.
Share the role. Like, yeah, it is... it's really disappointing because there was a period there a couple of weeks ago, even 3 weeks ago, where you said, you know what, this night side, they've fucking had a crack. They've really ripped in and they've gone better than a lot of people gave them credit for. But unfortunately, it's now looking like it's turning into a disaster season, unfortunately, which is really a shame because they showed so much grit for most of the season. Anything else, boys, on the Knights?
Just have a look through their New South Wales Cup side. They actually beat Penrith to their credit. But yeah, mate, even there, as far as hooker and everything, like, nothing jumping out there. No front row forwards that I really know. It's grim.
Really, really grim. So I do think that if this continues, I do think there'll probably be some changes. I really do. Which I hate to say.
There's a young guy that's in their squad who played SG Ball this year. His name's Miles Martin. He's come up from Parramatta. He was their lock forward and the captain of the SG Ball.
Yep.
Tough as nails.
Yeah.
I think he could be I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a debut. He's not playing New South Wales Cup at the moment. He might be injured or something, but he's one to keep an eye on there who I think will make a big difference.
Okay. Storm v. the Seagulls. Storm defeat the Seagulls. Absolute clinical performance by the Storm. They're building nicely, just at the right time. I think that Smithy says this all the time on the captain's run. You have to stop comparing this Storm side to yesteryear's Storm side. It's not the same. And it's hard to do that because they're wearing the same jersey. Craig Bellamy is still there. But I do believe that there is a merit to what he is saying in regards to that, okay, maybe they aren't the super consistent dominant side from woe to go. But when you look at their roster, you go, well, it is quite a different kind of roster. Harry Grant and Cameron Smith couldn't be more different. Cam Munster and Cooper Cronk couldn't be more different. Cooper Cronk, Hughes couldn't be more different. Nick Meaney and Billy Slater, very, very different. Pappenhausen, obviously, we hope he comes back. And so it is quite a different roster. But I will say they're starting to make things click. And I loved your call a few weeks ago, Timmy, of just you need Nass on the field longer. And ever since they've probably put him on the field longer, they look like a different side. Now, he honestly might be the most important forward to a squad in the NRL right now. Because without him in the side, I don't think they're doing anything.
So they've played this season. Nass has played over 50 minutes 5 times. 5 from 5 wins and all pretty dominant. 24-6 over Manly, 28-6 over the Tigers, 54-10 over the Sharks, 30-22 over the Warriors, 16-12 over the Eels.
Yeah, wow. Talk about important.
And they've lost 3 of 5 when he played under 50 minutes. 2 of those losses were big losses. They lost to the Cows, Rabbitohs and Doggies, all by pretty significant margins.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great shout because without him, they just don't have go forward. They have go forward. They got battlers, and we all know that. Anyone that puts on a Storm jersey is a battler. Like they have, it's almost a badge of you are a battler. Like if you've got a Storm jersey on, you've achieved something that even other NRL players may not achieve.
That's 75 minutes on the weekend.
Yeah. And so when he's on the field, they go forward every set. It just takes one carry from him, and they're off to the races.
You're wondering about him as an edge player because I think, he's at his best when he plays as a middle. But if you play him on an edge and get an extra 25 minutes out of him, maybe it's worth the trade-off.
Yeah, I reckon I think it might be worth the trade-off because he's just needed on the field. Like, he may be out on the edge, so he has to make less tackles, and maybe, teams will start to work him out and put some really fast guys around him. Like, imagine Reece Walsh, wrapping around him. But I think it's like you just need to have him on the field so that any time that people are turning the screws and pressure is building, you just go, Nas, come in, we need a run. Boom, pressure completely released. Yeah. Whereas if he's on the bench, you just obviously can't do that. So I actually think that you just keep him there, not necessarily to run over halfbacks, even though that is an asset of his game. It's more whenever we need some momentum, we just call him in.
And that's the upside to it as well, isn't it? When you do line him up one-on-one with a half, no one's ever going to stop him. So if they can perfect it and he gets that combination with Jerome Hughes or whatever edge he ends up playing...
It's a guaranteed try pretty much. Like if you get 10 out and run good shape, it's essentially a guaranteed try.
If you don't go to him, the opposition has to have so many eyes on him. It's a 2 to 3 man job. There's space everywhere else.
Yeah. Mate, you can get 3 people on him. If he hits the ball hard on the line, he's scoring. Yeah. It's so... If they can find that balance, and they didn't even have Kamikamitha on the weekend, did they?
No.
This is a big worry all the way back to the preseason. As soon as Brandon Smith left, it was where are they going to get their momentum from? And it had to be Nas the entire year.
Yeah, and it is. It really is. Outside of that, Xavier Coates, holy shit. I mean, he was getting seriously, in my mind, he was seriously getting to the point of one of the most surprising players to not go on and become great. Like if there was one player to go down there where I thought this guy's going to become the best winger in the comp and he's going to absolutely fucking decimate opposition, it was Xavier Coates. So it was so surprising to me that, and yes, he has had injuries, but he was nowhere near his potential. And then, boom, 3 weeks ago, gun game. Goes into Origin camp, gun game. Comes back, he looks like a completely different person. He's yipping and yahooing. He's aggressive. He's like, he realises how big he is. He is playing like up as good as he played at the Broncos. That's how good he's playing. He is playing fantastic rugby league.
And like, if you were to line up Xavier Coates, Fox, Vunivalu, all these guys, when they arrived there, who had the most promise? You would have to say Xavier Coates.
100%.
By a mile. And he hasn't quite lived up to that. Korobiti as well. Xavier Coates was further in his career and looked like he had more to offer than all those guys. And if I had to rank them based on what their output, even at the same point after a year or whatever, I would have to have him at 4th at the moment.
Yeah. He was their biggest signing since Crocker in 2006, I think. So that's how big of a signing it was. And I think he's finally found it. I think he has found his groove, and that is scary. What have we been talking about all episode with the Storm? It's momentum. Who gives momentum? Fucking Coates and Warbrick. They've finally found these 2 fucking giants on the edge that can just roll you down the field. Plus, they're both fucking fantastic finishers. So
looks like a real confidence player, Coates. And that's obviously the criticism of him. You want to see him do it week in, week out and run for 150 plus metres minimum, week in, week out. But you just knew he was going to go into Origin camp and come out full of confidence. Holy shit, we saw it on the weekend.
Mate, he was so good. And as I said, it's not just about the stats that we see. If you watch the game, it's the swagger he has now. He knows he's a better player. Whereas before, it was almost like he was not timid, but he just didn't seem like he felt like he was a good player. And now you're going, fuck, he's walking around, he just feels better, which is what you want. Jerome Hughes is just slowly picking up his season week by week. Great win. Pezzett, really good in attack.
Some of the kicks he put in,
mate, that kick
can't defend them.
Yeah, the kick where, was it, what's his name, the winger for the headgear that come up from reserve grade?
Brick? Warbrick?
No. He put in for Coates, but Vanga. That was like, now obviously Vanga should have kept his feet, but still, pin perfect kick.
Isn't he instinctually? He's the definition of eyes up footy.
Yeah.
He goes there, goes to the line, corner of his eyes, sees a slight gap open up to it, just rolls it in.
Yeah.
He's so instinctual.
And also the way he kicks it, like he had to kick it essentially on the outside of the boot so that it curls around into Coates rather than curling away from Coates. He literally wrapped it just so much that Bunga thought that he could get it, and it just bounces away and then into Coates.
That's the beauty of those kicks when you hit them properly like he does. It's like the fullback and the winger are like magnets.
Yeah.
They're dragged, it actually makes your target even bigger than what it is.
Yep, absolutely. Whereas if you kick it just a normal grubber, it just goes straight. So Vunga goes, oh, well, I'm not even going to get close to that, so I'll just keep running and keep my feet. Great kick. Melbourne Storm, they're a premiership threat now. A few weeks ago, I would have said they weren't a premiership threat this year. I'm fully back on board in the Storm. I think they can win a comp this year.
There's about 10 games between now and the end of the regular season. There'll be 3 different times in that phase where we say, well, we put a line through Melbourne again, and then a week later we say, no, they can win the comp. I guarantee it.
I just think that Cam Munster back, Harry Grant, Hughes, Nelson, they've worked out they need to get more minutes in him. Kamikamitha was playing great before is he injured or suspended? Injured. Christian Welch, he's not wrecked his body with Origin. I think that they can definitely make a push this year. Onto the Seagulls. As I said last week, I'm concerned about the Seagulls. I think that they're super inconsistent. DCE tries his heart out, kicks his fucking dick off every week. But they are just so inconsistent as a team. And it's not necessarily their result that I'm talking about inconsistent. I mean just the way they play. It's like one week you're like, oh, there's the old school Manly. Everyone hates Manly. Then the next week it's like their forward pack gets rolled, really, to be honest. It's tough.
Yeah, I feel the same, mate. I don't know where to go with Manly. Guys in key position, not sure about. I think it's about time Ruben Garrick's been named at fullback. We've spoken about the last few weeks. I think he is by far and away the best option at fullback there. So that's a little win for them. But yeah, I thought Olakuatu probably had his best game in a while the other night. It was good to see him bounce back. And he's sort of guy similar to Nas. If he can find his best footy again, it turns that team on its head. Yeah. I'm confident he's going to do it. Not really, because it is, one game in a month or so he's looked back to himself. But fingers crossed he can. I think you said earlier there's a bit of mail around that Gerbo could return this week.
Yeah.
Huge.
So they've got, it was always going to be so concerned without Tommy Turbo, but we've sort of harped on a little bit about the importance of Jake Trbojevic to this team this season and their results with and without Jake Trbojevic and how influential he's been there. So Jake due back this week. They've got Jason Saab, Brad Park also due back, if not this week, then the following week or the next game that they play. Kelma Tuolangi on the edge, Ben Trbojevic. They do have players coming back. So, I would like to see them, particularly with Jake, before putting a line completely through them. You mentioned Guru, but the move of Ruben Garrick to fullback, really glad they made that. Yep. No knock on KO Weeks, but just still very young in his career, a lot more development to come, whereas Rubes has been proven at fullback. I thought defensively he was outstanding on the weekend. That scoreline could have been a lot worse if it wasn't for him there. And a big part of his game, he'll have 20-plus runs a game. Some really good moments. Yeah, I like Garrick at the back. Initially, I thought KO Weeks give him a crack, see how he goes, because he looked perfect for fullback. He really did. Fast, good footwork, good ball player. His time will come, KO. Yeah. Just a little bit early on. But Garrick back, I like him back at fullback. I hate to harp on it, but, Schuster, 19 tackles, 7 missed tackles. That's rough. Unfortunately, when you're on $800,000 a year like they're reporting, you just can't afford to be missing that many tackles as a half. I agree with you in regards to they've got troops coming back, but again, my concern is that it's just so up and down. I just don't know what you don't know what you're going to get. One week you might get one of the most aggressive forward packs we've seen in a long time, and then the next week it's just not even close. I do think, though, that it's going to be interesting to see Olakuatu next week, because I think with how poorly Origin has gone for New South Wales, it may be time to give him a crack on the bench. Even though he's been inconsistent at club, it's an opportunity just to give these guys a crack. Do you know what I mean? Just see how they go. The game, it's the series over. Olakuatu had a really good start to the year, then he went a little bit quiet, but it's one of those things where I think we all believe he has the potential to be great in Origin. So just give him a crack and see how he goes.
Like even if you bring him off the bench, pull him through the middle and just go 20 minutes hard. I want to see what you can do. Because at the moment, when you compare, New South Wales to Queensland, you go like Nanai, Fafita, you got all these kind of young, really explosive back rowers. You've got to go, well, how do we combat that with our own, really young, explosive, wide-running forward? And you might say, well, Hudson Young's young or Liam Martin. Liam Martin, I think Cam Murray should be 13. I think Liam Martin should start on one edge. And that other edge, maybe you put Young on the bench, you put Olakau'atu to start, or you put Young to start, Olakau'atu on the bench. I think it's a time to try things. I really do.
Yeah, and I'd love to see New South Wales, whether it be Freddie, Joey, whoever, like, give Olakau'atu a call before his game next week and say, hey, there's a jersey on the line.
Yeah.
Let's see what you're made of, because that's what disappointed me the most. That as soon as he started to get into conversation of being in the New South Wales side, and when I was thinking he would be in my side, that's probably his worst 3 weeks of footy I've seen.
It's a good call, Guru. Like, put the pressure on.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be ringing him and Keon and telling them both, hey, there's one jersey between the two of you.
Yeah.
Winner takes all this weekend.
Yep.
If you can't go out at clubland playing for an Origin spot and not, like, make your case, what are you going to do if I pick you in the Origin cauldron?
Yeah, I think it's a great call, Guru. A great call. And I think Hamole would respond. I think he would respond.
You would too. Yeah.
Okay, on to next game. Broncos versus the Titans. Titans get the job done, 18-12. What an incredible win for the Titans. Without Tino, no one gave him a chance. I thought their defence was outstanding. Brimo just brings so much to that side. Jeez, he's important. I thought Foz was fantastic. But, the main guy I want to talk about is Moe Fotuaika. Jeez, he's hitting his potential, isn't he? He is just the way he's built. Like, he's not too tall, but he's so thick. So he's like, he hits the line and he just keeps, it's very hard to win the contact against Fotuaika because of his unique body shape. He's just so thick. And, this year, 210 metres, 21 runs, 76 post contact, 32 tackles. He played 70 minutes. 70 minutes for the big fella.
Backing up from Origin.
And so when you look at that and you go, he's still like 23 years old or something, really young for a front rower. He might even be younger, I don't know, but he's young. You go, far out, there's a team to be built there. Like, if Moe keeps this up and Tino comes back, those two in the front row together, fucking hell. He's 23. Yeah. And Tino's 24. Like, that's a front row pairing that could take it to any front row pairing in the next few years once they mature a little bit more. Oh, my God. And Fafita's 22. Jesus.
I wasn't on mic. Tino's 23 as well.
I love Mo Fotuaika.
I love it.
I love everything about him. And as you said, mate, it's his body shape. To have his body shape, but to be as explosive as he is, he's just so unique. He is so unique. And if you don't wrap it, like, he's a bit like Isaiah Yeo, even though they're very different body shapes. Isaiah Yeo, if you wrap him up high, sweet, he'll push you for 8 post contact.
Yeah.
If you go low on him, he's also got the skill set to be able to offload. He's a very, his body shape, he almost, at times when I watch him, he reminds me of, you remember Sam Moa played for the Roosters?
Yeah.
He reminds me of him, but he's more explosive.
Yeah. It's like, I'm trying to think of another body shape. He's like, I don't know if they are, but he seems like just a bit bigger than Totola maybe. Similar body shape, just a bit bigger size-wise. It'd be interesting to see them side by side to see who was bigger. But that's the only other person in the NRL that I can think has a similar...
I think even like when you talk about so hard to win the contact and not let him get a quick play ball, Junior Barlow.
Yeah, it's a good point. Junior Barlow is a perfect example. Moe, I absolutely love that. He had that year where you go, oh shit, please don't tell me we've lost a really talented front rower. He just doesn't seem to be working. And then he comes back going, nah, he's going to hit the trajectory we think he's going to hit.
And it's when you look at players like him, you do feel sorry for Justin Holbrook, what he's managed to get out of some of these guys.
For sure. I mean, even, an ex-guy for Fafita, like Holbrook has had a help in turning Fafita into this player, but... Even
Campiera, like... I would have dropped him after week 3.
Yeah, all those errors, far out. I mean, he was crucial as well, Campiera. Without him, without his like out-and-out unique speed, Like, doesn't it just show you that even a guy like Selwyn Cobbo, who you'd pick Selwyn Cobbo any day of the week over nearly any winger in the comp, but that speed is so valuable that it's why, you see smaller guys get picked in sides, because if a team is good enough to give them space, it doesn't matter how good the winger is opposing them. If they've got more speed than them, they score.
Cobbo showed him the sideline, and just like Cobbo does, confident player, backed himself, and Khan Pereira just went, thank you.
Thanks for that. Thanks for
Cobbo
coming.
knew on step 1.
Yeah,
he was
over.
gone.
Yeah, over.
Like, it felt like Cobbo knew when the ball was in the air. He was gone then.
He is so quick, Khan Pereira.
And I'd back Cobbo to get the vast majority of players in that position.
Yeah. And like Cobbo's top speed, I reckon, is probably similar to Khan's, but it's that first 10 where he just went boom, gone. So yeah, Khan Pereira, I thought he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding, and
The rookie
really
of the year's warming up now.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know who I remember
still
sitting
have
here
Preston.
8 weeks ago going, Isaiah Katoa, just because of what he's done and the
Yeah.
team he's in, he's probably it for me. But now you got Preston, you got Buller, you got Khan Pereira.
Yep.
So what, Hopgood played too many?
Who'd you say? Warbrick's another good one, so he's really come on.
Warbrick. And
Yeah,
Buller too.
Hopgood's played too many.
Is it 5 games? You have to have played
4.
less
Yeah.
than 4.
I think Hopgood was at 5 or 6.
Fuck, I forgot Buller.
Yeah.
I reckon Hopgood was. Well, he's not available, so stupid. But I reckon if it was 1 game less, it was him.
Yeah.
Hopgood was actually played 10 games for Penrith across 2 years.
There you go. Not even close.
Probably be, what do you reckon, Buller or Preston? Probably Buller.
As I said, 6 weeks ago, I thought Katoa for sure. I reckon 4 weeks ago, I thought Buller for sure. Now, I don't know. I think it's wide open. It feels like they're all taking little 6 to 8 week turns of being
turns
the
of being
guy.
done.
I reckon Preston at the moment.
Preston?
Obviously love him, but I just, in a struggling doggy side, he's been pretty bloody good week in, week out from round 1.
Yeah,
Mate,
typical.
Timmy has loved Preston ever since you found
I
him.
know, I was going to say, I unearthed the star, and now he wants to ride his coattails.
Preston
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
If Buller keeps up what he's doing, it'll be Buller.
Yeah.
He's just under over a shorter size at the moment.
But yeah, Khan Pereira, I thought he was outstanding. I thought it showed a bit of short. Like, Staggs made some really good one tackles, but he also sometimes can have a read at him that's not great. So can Adam Reynolds as well, which can obviously hurt Staggs. So that side defensively of Reynolds, Staggs, Selwyn, I think it needs a little bit of work defensively, because we do leak quite a few points down there. I think Hines tore us apart a few weeks ago, and then obviously on the weekend got torn apart down that side coming out of their end.
Yeah, well, that was it. The try that Brian Kelly scored. That edge was just in. Katoni shot up and Selwyn stayed back, and it just made it easy for him.
And the one, the Fafita one was Reynolds came out and turned in instead of just staying back and helping. Anyway, but back to the Titans. Foz was good. Khan Pereira was good, but David Fafita, jeez Louise, didn't he just go to another level? And it was all just really smart footy too. It wasn't selfish. It was there was a period there where you go, I think Tony Staggs is going to handle Fafita today, like probably the first 20. You go, I think he's going to handle him. But he just kept running that line, and then he just gets that try on half time, and boom, game completely changes.
The Titans are outstanding, but they don't win that game without Dave Fafita.
No way. Absolutely not.
He just not single-handedly, but he just dismantled the Broncos, didn't he?
He really did. He really did. And it's just a level of maturity where I think a few years ago, when it's not working in the first 20 minutes, he goes, all right, I'm going to try and start doing things by myself. I'm going to start crabbing across field and scooting and he might score a try here or there from that. Whereas this new version of Dave Fafita goes, no, I'm going to do this for 80 minutes and I dare you to try and stop me. And they didn't.
It's great to see the Titans score that try in the 38th minute. Like, I've got no stats in front of me. My vibe is, though, if there was a team that concedes the most points between the 35th and the 40th minute, I would take the Titans. They always seem to be that side that concede just before half time. So against a top shelf team like the Broncos, great to see them get one back, and it changed the game.
Yeah. Oh, mate.
I think it's the most underrated 5-minute period in rugby league. If you can go into half time and get some points on the board, it changes everything.
Yeah, you come out a completely different team. Look, we can talk about the 50-50 calls. I think it's insanity to say that Reece Walsh played at the ball, but okay, yes, the obstruction, craziness, the ball was 20 metres past him, he never would have got there. But at the same time, like sometimes in games, you're not going to get the calls. Those are going to come back to them in a couple of weeks. Broncos are going to get some arsey calls, and it's going to win them a match. So you can't blame the calls for the loss. You just can't. The game was there for the Broncos to win, and it was their decisions that made them not win it. But anyway, anything else on the Titans, boys?
Just to state the obvious, but 2 weeks in a row, like this is a side who we, as far as I can remember back, have been able to put 80-minute performances together. That's 2 on the trot where they're pretty complete 80-minute games. They've conceded 4 tries in 2 weeks.
It's really bloody good.
That's so pleasing to see from the Titans, because if this can become a more regular thing, like we know they can be a top 8 side because points aren't an issue. So like just such good defence. Even one of the tries they let through was, I've been pretty vocal about it, but Jaden Campbell coming in and defending the defensive line, and Ezra Mann like just threw him off him and said, "No, put it down." So yeah, great signs.
Isn't it wild though that their best defensive efforts come in a 3-week period where a lot of guys go to Origin, they sack their coach halfway through?
It's bizarre.
Like you would think this would be the hardest time for them to put together a consistent defensive effort, and I know it's only 2 weeks, but for their standards, that's consistent. That's great. That's where you want them headed.
The first time in so long we've been like, yeah, they're putting performances together. Defence is finally coming good. Coincides with Holbrook getting sacked.
Yeah.
Of all times to sack him. Anyway.
I also thought like Brian Kelly had some great, really tough carries, and Philip Sammy, like they were just tireless. The back 5 for the Titans, like Brimo, 173 metres, Cam Pereira 204, Brian Kelly 190, Shook 150, Philip Sammy 222. Like that's, we always say it, but what's that similar like? It's similar to the Penrith Panthers. When your outside backs are working tireless like that, it gives your forwards a chance to get line speed and defend really well, and that's what the Titans did. And then you add on to the fact that, Dave Fafita ran for 135, Moe Fotuaika ran for 210. Like, that's bloody outstanding. Outstanding. Anything else on the Titans, boys?
Good win. Enjoy it against Big Brother. That's unreal. That's so cool.
On to the Broncos. Really disappointing, and one of those games that they're going to really rue, I think, and go, fuck, we could have put ourselves, on top of the table. They would have been 2 wins ahead if you count the buys if they had won on the weekend. Yep. The game was there to be won. They just didn't have the same energy that they usually do. They're quite flat, expecting things to happen. Reece Walsh, he's been so bloody good during Origin. Like we always talked about concerns. Is he going to go into Origin, make errors? Then he comes back for his first game, well, essentially his first game after series win, 5 errors. And you just go, Reece boy, like, quick taps, chipping and chasing and offloading. It's just like, mate, you have the blueprint. You know what the opportunities will come. You don't need to make them all yourself. Rely on Reynolds. Rely on Mem. Rely on your forwards. You've got an incredible forward pack. They will get you into that spot. So it's going to take a few years, I think, for Reece to find the balance. He's clearly a very emotional player, and that's good because you want to win. You want a fullback there, just so desperate to win. But he's just got to find a balance between letting his emotions get a hold of him and funneling his emotions. And we've seen it. We've seen plenty of players like Hudson Young struggled with his emotions. Billy Slater was quite a passionate player, and he learned to hone it. Now, probably not as emotional as Reece is, but so it's just one of those games where he just allowed his emotions to get the better of him. We'll talk about the swearing at the referee. So a video's come out. Basically, what happened was they released a video. He'd called, the ref the C-bomb. And basically he replied under the comment saying, I was talking to a teammate. And then Fox released more footage where it looks like he's staring. Or he said, I was talking to another player. And then the Fox League footage, it looks like he's looking at the ref. But I personally believe if you look and you listen, he's talking to Paddy Carrigan. You can even see as soon as he says it and the ref gives him a penalty, Reece runs to the ref and says, I was talking to Paddy. If you look closely, Paddy says something to him, and I believe he's talking to Paddy. And look, I understand everyone's going to say, you're just saying that because he's a Broncos fan. No, I genuinely believe you can hear him say, I was talking to Paddy, and also you can see Paddy say something to him. So I believe he's saying that Paddy Carrigan. But regardless, it's just like, however you splice, it's just not a good look.
Not a good look. I agree with you. I think he is talking to Pat Carrigan, but as you said, it is not a good look.
No.
There's no way to put it. It's a shit look, and there's things that Reece has got to learn from. As you said, he is a very passionate sort of guy, and he's a very emotional guy. And to be honest with you, I don't want that to change with Reece Walsh, but he's just got to hone in those little parts of his game.
Yeah. We like he's so good. He's so exciting to watch, and the emotion is a part of his game, but he just can't allow it to take hold of himself. He has to be professional and understand that the best thing for his brothers and his teammates is to just, and I think you actually hear like other players saying like, get a hold of yourself, control yourself. So like they know he's an emotional guy, but he's just got to learn to control it. Otherwise, he's going to be dealing with this all his career. I think he will. He's still so young.
Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, emotion shows that you care about everything and your teammates and winning that game of footy. And as I said, it's putting a lid on it and learning how to control it. But emotions, it's never a bad thing. It's just learning to control it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also just trust your teammates, Walshy. Like, I know you're a gun. I know that you can do incredible things that we all sit back and go, oh my God, how did the kid do it? But just trust Renault and trust Mam and trust Walters, Haas, Carrigan. They can take care of all that stuff and they'll get you in good field position to do the great things. The great things will come to you. You don't need to go to them. And so, yeah. I thought Corey Oates was bloody outstanding. I thought he was really fucking good. Some of the catches he took, some of the runs, like Big Oatsy, Oates McGoats, just coming from the backfield, bloody winding up.
Guy's been a good player for a long time.
I know. I love watching Oatsy play. I really do. Outside of that, there was a period like Herbie Farnworth got through a lot of work. I do think in the first half he was crabbing across the field a bit, and I just thought that they could straighten up their runs. Like crabbing across the field, yeah, you might find your front, but it just throws everything out. Where it's just like a hard direct run in towards behind the ruck. It just gives you a bit more momentum.
If it doesn't come off, your next tackle every time is taking a settler and getting back in position because everything's thrown out of whack.
Yeah, absolutely. Stags, yeah, bit quiet. Made some good reads in defence, but also didn't really, he had 6 runs. What else is there? Like Haas did what they could. They're obviously nowhere near as potent when they lose Flegler, Haas, Carrigan. But Hetherington and that come on and do a job. But just a really disappointing for the Broncos. Really, really disappointing. They absolutely have the team and they had the ability to win that game, even though, yes, they had some tough calls. They should have won that game.
Yeah, shit's always going to go against you. You got to deal with it.
Yeah, not much else to say. How long we got? We got
2 games.
2 games. Rabbitohs v. the Cowboys. Cowboys defeat the Rabbitohs. Actually, store shout-outs. The Grange Celebrations drive-through. Easy pick up and go. Arana Leagues Club in Bottle Shop and also in the fridges behind the bar. Eaton Hills Harry Brown for everyone on the north side of Brisbane. The Woods Bar in fridges at the Woods Bar in Mitchelton, Blackwood Street. The Common Ground Cellars St. Lucia, located near the University of Queensland. Cowboys defeat the Rabbitohs 31-6. Far out. I don't know. I'm not sure, but are the Cowboys back? Scotty Drinkwater, take a bow. He was absolutely phenomenal. I personally think, I know there's a bunch of fullbacks in front of him, but if you're on the selection table and you've got names for fullback for New South Wales, there are names ahead of him for sure, but his name should be on the table in my opinion. I really do.
Yeah, and when you sort of said that last week, I'll be honest, I sort of went, geez, I don't know about that. But watching him on the weekend, he is just so confident in himself, isn't he? Like, he's realised how good he is, and he used to just be the quick guy, but like he's got the ball playing now, he's got the kicking game, and when big moments come, he wants the ball in his hand. And he's like he's obviously like he's not the strongest guy in the world, but he's becoming one of those guys that he can beat you in a number of ways. He can pass around you if he wants to. He can seemingly just run over the top of guys, and I've got no idea how, but he just always puts himself in the right position, Scott Drinkwater. So, yeah, I feel like he's sort of starting to turn a bit of a corner in his career.
Yeah, he's really starting to step into that kind of elite level of fullback. To be honest, personally, he reminds me of a little bit bigger Reece Walsh. Like just that silky cutout ball, can kick.
Heaps similar.
like super fast, decent footwork. He was absolutely outstanding on the weekend. Like 3 try assists again. What? Can you tell us what he's where he is on the tries assist list? 3 try assists, 231 metres run, 11 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, a line break assist. Like, fucking hell.
Equal second. So Cody's on 19, and then Walsh, SJ, and Drinkwater are all on 16.
And how many games has Scotty played, though? Because didn't he have, 4
Got
weeks?
suspended for 4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks. So he's probably averaging the most out of anyone.
So on average, he's second. So Cody's got 1.3 a game in 15 games, and Drinkwater's 1.2 a game.
Yeah, wow.
13
Keep
games.
in mind, obviously, Cody Walker, Reece Walsh, Sean Johnson all playing for teams that are in the top 8. It feels like Scott Drinkwater's team, I think, realised how to play footy again a month ago.
Yeah, it's a great point. Tommy Dearden, getting better and better.
Yeah.
Really, really growing into the player that had a lot of promise coming into first grade, but geez, he's becoming crucial to this team. And he's just rounding out his game so well. He has the running, he has the toughness, but even just that ball that floater ball he flew over the top to Tuolangi in a crucial part of the match. It's so nice. And when you see that, you go, geez, he's not just a ball running 6. He's starting to really add different parts to his game.
I feel like I'm going to really grow to hate Tom Dearden around this time every year.
Let's talk about the boy Nanai. What the fuck? He's just come back and gone.
So well put. It's not even funny.
He was having maybe 10 runs a month.
Yep.
Now he's having, so on the weekend he had, get it up. So on the weekend, 80 minutes, 14 runs, 182 metres, 61 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, a line break, 2 line break assists, offload, 24 tackles.
Origin.
Billy Slater.
God damn it.
Billy Slater has coached so many players back into form out of nowhere.
Holmes is back into form. Xavier Coates back into form. Just fucking unbelievable.
I'd love to know what Billy Slater, I would imagine the last thing he said to them before they leave camp is something about going back to clubland, because it was something that those Melbourne Storm boys, they always prided themselves on how they returned to clubland. I'm sure it would be a challenge that he'd give to all these guys, and they're all responding.
Yeah, I think it would be maybe it is along the lines of you owe it to your clubs. You owe it to your clubs. They let you go, come play Origin for your state. Now go and repay the favour.
Yeah.
By playing some good footy. Fini Fuyaki, once again, fuck it. He's just, I want to see him more. I want to see more minutes somehow, some way. He is something special.
Fuck, I didn't realise he only played 12 minutes. I felt like I was watching him for half an hour.
I know. That's what I mean.
Wow.
He's getting on the field for 12, 20 minutes and genuinely standing above everyone on the field. That's how much impact he's having. I want to see some more minutes with him because, jeez.
How's their depth now all of a sudden where they've got Luciano Leilua back, Fuyaki there killing it, Holon Lukey's out for another couple of weeks, but he'll come back in. Nanai's come back on an absolute tear. So when you say the Cowboys back, well, when you see the calibre of player they've got coming back into the side, it's hard to argue.
Well,
If you're a club that needs a back rower, even if you're a club that doesn't need a back rower,
get him there.
bring the Cowboys.
Well, Leilua, essentially, Leilua, he ran for 173 metres, 86 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, and he made 32 tackles. And so you've got Leilua, Lukey, Nanai, Fini Fuyaki. They are absolutely stacked. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Fini through the middle. Fini Fuyaki through the middle. Maybe if you start Jake Granville and then you bring him off at 20 minutes and get the big fella through the middle. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys game, boys?
Yeah, dominant. As I said, I thought Drinky was fantastic. I did think South Sydney were very disappointing. I shouldn't say never, but it's been a long time since I've seen their attack just missed that last pass seemingly every single time.
It reminded me of a batter or a golfer trying to get his eye in.
Yeah.
Cody Walker plays in inches, just inches, and that inch was off.
It's like they were in quicksand. The more they tried, the worse it got.
Yeah.
And you say like that was close. To me, I didn't think they looked like skinning the cows, like the backline movements. I don't know if it was perhaps the case because their attack's been so rampant all season. You're sitting there going, maybe a bit of overconfidence, not winning the right to go forward. The Bunnies, you use the word just disappointed, Guru, because we've seen them at their best this season. They fell off a cliff on the weekend. They completed about 67%, conceded 13 penalties. Like every chance they'd get into the Cowboys' half, they'd either knock it on, but then they'd compound the knock-on with a piggyback penalty coming off the back and just invite the Cowboys back down there. And firstly, credit to the Cowboys' defence because they did not give them an inch all game. But, geez, the Bunnies didn't respond well.
Yeah, really disappointing game from the Bunnies have been disappointing for about a month now.
Yeah, and I'm not pinning it on one guy, obviously, but I remember at the start of the season when I wasn't overly impressed with the Rabbitohs, we spoke about how I'm feeling more and more when Cody Walker gets into these individual battles, I think it takes away from his footy. And I said at the start of the season, he went through about an 8-week stretch where he wasn't doing it, he was just focusing on himself. He played great footy. I feel like yesterday, once again, I think he was so consumed with going at Chad Townsend that I just felt like the mistakes just kept coming and coming and coming for Cody. And, Cody will play 100 games and 98 of them, he will get every single pass perfect. But yesterday, it was like he just couldn't get himself out of it.
Yeah, he just seemed like his eye was out. Like, you know what I mean? Everything was just out an inch for him, and it just didn't seem to work.
And an inch is a mile in rugby league.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're playing the way that he plays.
And he's similar to Reece Walsh to a degree where they're very emotional players. And you're right, it felt like he had put a bit of a lid on that. I think he's just desperate to get back and help his team because he cares so much. We talk about the fact that Demetrio was taken over and they haven't missed a beat after Wayne Bennett. But you also remember that even from Seabold to Wayne Bennett, they didn't miss a beat in regards to they went one game further. But that's all due to a very strong senior playing group. Like a coach can only do so much. A senior playing group of Cody Walker being one of them has led them through that. So, like, the Rabbitohs don't get enough props for how strong their senior playing group is. The fact that they've stayed at the top for so long. They've had 3 coaches in, 5 years?
Yeah.
Most other clubs, that decimates you. In 4 years? 5 years? Whereas a senior playing group has kept that culture, kept it all strong, and Cody Walker is essentially at the top of that. Like, I know Cam Murray is the captain, but Cody Walker is the senior player in that group. Like, he is the guy that they all turn to. And so sometimes you can care too much. You can take too much burden. I mean, look at Teddy at the Roosters, taking too much on his shoulders, stretching him out too much. And so you just want to get Cody back to that. It's only one game, literally one game in a million. Just back to that, you know what? I'm just playing my role. I'll let everyone else do their job.
And wasn't a classic example you get to back into that game when Ilias scored off the scrum just because all our eyes are always on Cody.
Yeah.
Ilias pretty much jogged through.
Yeah, I know.
That was untouched.
Defence has been the other thing just last couple of weeks creeping in with the two halves, with Cody and Ilias in particular. Like you mentioned the Cows edge back rollers before. They had so much success through them two boys.
Yeah. Big boys.
What was your numbers, Matty?
So the difference between rounds 1 to 11 compared to now, I'll just get the numbers up. Basically, from rounds 1 to 11, South conceded 150 points. Since then, with a bye, 164. So round 1 to 11, South were conceding 13.6 points a game. And in those games, they were against Broncos, Storm twice, Penrith twice. Since then, since round 11, conceded 32.8 points a game.
Oof.
So that's like double and a half.
Yeah, wow.
That's like going Penrith areas to bottom 4 areas.
Yeah. I think they'll turn it around. I don't think it's obviously it's worrying in regards to fucking that's bad. I think they'll sort themselves out.
Yeah, I think also they have got a player in Latrell Mitchell who he just turns a game on its head.
Yeah.
He turns everyone else's game on its head as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think you look back on that New South Wales loss and you go, how much did that Latrell kind of hurt them a bit, where they went, our biggest superstar he's not there for Suncorp.
He's just one of those guys.
Yeah. We're going to Suncorp. We need one guy. And there's one guy on the comp that could do something magical. It's Latrell Mitchell, above every single, in my opinion, above Teddy, above Tommy. If there's one guy that could go up to Suncorp and really just be, not grubby, but like hyper aggressive, in our faces, fuck you, it's Latrell Mitchell. And so you got to wonder how much that did play a part in the lack of confidence, I think, maybe New South Wales.
I know my ass fell out the back when I read it, so I can't imagine how the players felt.
Yeah, so look, Rabbitohs, very, very disappointing loss. Very disappointing month of rugby league. You've got to turn it around because you want to be fit. It's such a tight comp. 2 more losses and all of a sudden you're bloody out of the 8 going, holy shit, what happened there? Now let's get on to the Roosters v. the Raiders. Raiders getting the job done. Late fight back from the Roosters, but Raiders getting the job done. The big thing that stuck out to me was Jackie Whiten. Best he's looked all year, by a mile. Aggressive, running the ball, in your face, really playing with a purpose, not playing passively. 20 runs for 138 metres at 6, 4 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, 19 tackles. Like, that's the Jackie Whiten we know. Just going at you every minute of the game, he is at you. And that's what he did on the weekend. I thought he was fantastic. Timmy, what do you think about the Raiders?
Yeah, they're such a interesting side, the Raiders. Like, Guru mentioned their for and against before and how poor it was this season. And we went out to, a 16-0 lead, whatever it was in this one, and all things were going merry. It's like, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. So you can look at it from 2 different perspectives. We had a really good win against the Sydney Roosters away from home. Great result. But they've been so gritty as well because we are something that we haven't done for a number of years. We're closing out these tight games. We're finishing off. But, geez, we need to learn to put the foot to the throat a little bit because when we do get out to these leads, every single week we'll let teams back into it. So when it went to 16-0 and all things were going well, we needed to make that 30, start clawing some of that for and against back because winning by 2 in all these weeks, when it comes to for and against, that could cost us a top 8 spot at the end come finals time. So,
yeah.
But, look, great win.
I will say you lost probably 10 minutes in.
Yep.
Like, it's a fucking huge loss. Huge loss. But you're right in regards to, like, there's so many opportunities for you guys to just blow teams off the park and just somehow, some way, they just creep back into the game.
Just having a look through their number, and this is completely off the dome. Sit there and do the maths yourself. But from round 5 onwards, you haven't won a game by more than 10, and you haven't lost a game by less than 20.
Fuck.
Like, being uncomfortable for you guys is in a blanket with a hot cup of tea. You just love it.
Yeah,
So-
and that... Sorry, Addy.
No, so I was just going to say, Jack Cronin tweeted last night, so I'm sure it's legit, but the Canberra Raiders have led 18-0 in 3 games so far this year. The final result in all those games, 31-30, 19-18, 20-18.
Shout out Jack Cronin, one of the greats.
One of the greats.
So it's super concerning, but also I was like, well, as you mentioned, because we're in a fight every single game, hopefully we do make the top 8. When we get to finals time, so we should be stealing.
Yeah, prepared for it. Bit of a random question, boys, but does Queensland give a guy like Corey Horsburgh a crack on the bench just to get experience in game 3, or do they just go foot on the throat stuff?
I think they'll go foot on the throat stuff, personally.
What would you do?
If I was you, my life would be very different. I don't think I would. I think that, and that's where I'm really torn with New South Wales. Do we just throw a heap of debut jerseys out there to guys? I think that Queensland will reward the guys that have been there and done the job, and I think they'll want that whitewash for sure.
Yeah, I love the idea of giving someone like Big Red a crack and just to gain there for experience, a bloke who's every chance at being a big part of this side for many years to come. But you couldn't drop anyone. You couldn't drop anyone to say, look, you've been tremendous, but we're just going to give Big Red some experience.
Yeah.
I think Big Red would be filthy if they debuted him in this game. I think he'd want to earn it properly.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, Big Red, what a season. Again, another player where you go, are they going to feel the potential? Couple injuries, they were on the radar for a bit, and sometimes, a lot of the time they fall off the radar and they never get back on it. But geez, he's worked hard to get back on the radar.
I loved seeing him, and I didn't see him at all during camp or anything, but I thought that at the end of game 2, when they were all standing there in a huddle, he was out on the field. And I know all players would have looked the same, but he had the tracksuit, he had the scarf, he had the hat. It looked like he'd just been drafted by the Maroons and was fucking stoked. He was just so happy to be there. He just loves footy, Corey.
Yeah. I'm just so happy for him. He was outstanding. He bloody 69 minutes. He had 18 runs, 145 metres, 52 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, and he made 50 tackles with only 1 miss.
And you have a look at, I'm just going to get the exact number here so I don't get it wrong, but he had 2 stints last night. He came on in the second stint for 4 minutes and 22 seconds and had to get taken from the field for cramps because he was just going too hard.
Yeah. It's talk about a bloke just ripping in so hard he doesn't know his own body. Doesn't know his own body.
You know, I love as well with him, like I feel like I watched him last year. He's always had this unbelievable offload, but I feel like the last few years he's struggled to pick his moments. And I watch him now, and there's sometimes I see the arm come out and I go, oh, this isn't the one, this isn't the one. He just always gets it right.
Yeah. Yeah. He's playing such good footy.
Like the vast majority of offloads he's got wrong this year, I sit there and go, the hooker wasn't paying attention. They weren't ready for it.
Yeah. Yep.
I thought Jamal Fogarty's kicking game.
Oh, mate.
He just all of a sudden learnt to do the Birdo bomb.
Yeah.
It was enormous.
Yeah.
But short kicking game in particular, his bombs were incredible. But that's 2-3 weeks in a row where his kicking has just been top notch, and also takes so much pressure off Jack White not to have to worry about that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Like that's why he's in that side. And what's good about their halves partnership and Jared Croker.
The Croaks.
Turn about the clock, bit School and Joey Manu 1-on-1 for the upper wide each eye.
That's how he does it, baby.
Too fleet-footed, the old wily veteran.
He's still got it. He's still got it, Croaks. Yeah, look, it's a great win for the Raiders. Just, again, showing their grit. I love the progression of Jamal Fogarty this year. Just getting better and better each week. And I honestly reckon it's all started with that field goal against the Dolphins, where he's just getting confident in himself that he genuinely can impact games. Like, he doesn't just have to be, I just, get the ball to Jackie and that's my job. I don't do anything else. It's like, no, mate, you've got a lot to offer. You've got a lot to offer, and I think we're starting to see that. Jamal Fogarty at the start of the season, he's not going for all those kicks. He's just going real cookie cutter into the corner. That's my job. Now he's going, I think I've got a skill set to actually do some damage here, and we're seeing it. Anyone else stand out for you guys with the...
I just thought it was a good knock considering Josh Papali'i went down in the 10th minute. They had Nick Kotrick who played 3 minutes, so big minutes for a lot of key guys there. Against the Roosters side, who might not be going that well, but there's a lot of quality players on that other side of the field that they handled very well, I thought.
Now, onto the Roosters.
Tupanua out for the season.
Wow.
Shit.
Fuck. Jeez, he's been
so unlucky.
Needs neck surgery. So likely
Neck
up for
surgery?
season. Yeah.
He's had a tough run, hasn't he?
Fuck, he's been unlucky. Roosters. Look, we're just repeating ourselves, I'm being honest.
Yeah, not much to add.
Like, this team is so much better than what it's playing. Teddy, unfortunately, it's just been a really frustrating year for him. Look, to be fair, he is backing up from Origin. But I don't know. It's unfair because he's had, four of the best years you nearly could ever have. And I think we're just starting to see that maybe catch up with him a little bit. He is human. He can only do this for so long. I back him definitely to find his form again, but I think this year he just doesn't look... He looks a step slower, a little bit not as strong in contact. Decision-making, not as clear. So, as I said, he's an absolute champion of the game and one of the best fullbacks ever. But this year he's been, unfortunately, pretty poor for him.
So hard to put your finger on what's changed here. We often say that we don't like when Joey Manu plays 5'8" because he just doesn't pass the ball and it's not effective for the side. Like, Teddy's looking more and more like Manu the more I watch. It's just looking like he's not fitting into the teams that he's in. There was a play that really summed it up for me last night where he jumped into dummy half. It was last tackle, Sandon Smith, who I'll talk about in a minute. I love the look of him. He was down the right edge. He's a halfback, and Teddy threw the ball to him and sort of demanded to get it back off him straight away and then grab it for himself through the markers. And it was just such a bizarre play to go for in that moment. And, it's hard to criticise Teddy because it's not like he's hiding away from the football. He's trying to get involved. He's trying to make a difference consistently, but I just feel like he's... I don't know how to word it, but it's almost like he's getting in the way sometimes. It's tough.
Yeah.
Because So the thing that stood out for me is just how quickly his ball playing has fallen off a cliff. Like, he's still dangerous when he runs and has good involvements there, but his ball playing looks so off pace, and the timing of everything, because he is injecting himself so much and seemingly doesn't know when and where to do it at the right time, which seems crazy, but this season that's what it's looked like. Is it almost like, do you think he looks a yard off pace, and when he's doing those sweeping movements out the back, because he's not gassed but lethargic or tired? Because I'm with you, Guru. I don't really know what's changed between now and last year when he was tremendous last year. Something's off, but it's all just the ball playing to me. Those 3v2s, they're never happening for him.
Could you quickly just check how many tries he's had this year and maybe compare it to like the last couple of years or whatever?
Just give you an example from the weekend. He had 34 touches of the football. How many passes do you reckon he had?
4?
Yeah, 8.
8. Wow.
Like I don't have other fullbacks in front of me, but I'd love to stack that up to others because it just...
But Teddy also weirdly jumps in at first receiver all the time and will just tip onto a forward as well.
Yeah.
So they're not... It's not like they are sweeping passes to a winger.
I agree with you boys in regards to we know he can do it. We've seen him be mad at 3-on-2, so much so that there was, a couple of years ago, it was like he was almost playing 6 for the Roosters when they had that massive injury fucking toll. What do you got there?
So he's had 5 try assists this year.
Wow.
Yeah. Last year he had 12, and the year before he had 22. Now, obviously, it's half the games, but yeah.
But we keep Reece Walsh. We keep dropping the name Reece Walsh, but very different stages of their career. But Reece Walsh, you feel like every single attacking set Brisbane have in the opposition's half, Reece Walsh finds himself in a 3v3 or a 3-on-2 situation sweeping. All right, they're on here.
Well, Scotty Drinkwater.
Yeah. It never happens with the Roosters. Just seem like they're going through the motions. Right, these are our plays. We'll go through them. Even if they're not working, there's no plan B. If plan A doesn't work, so where do we go from here?
Very, very strange.
Just to give you some numbers, Scott Drinkwater on the weekend, 40 receipts, 22 passes. Reece Walsh, the other guy we spoke about, 35 receipts, 19 passes.
So it's definitely a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah. There's no doubting that whatsoever.
Yeah. He'll bounce back. Because
he'll be all right. He'll come good, Teddy.
I think he will. Hargreaves worked his ass off. Lindsay Collins, try scoring machine. I thought Victor Adley was pretty good, to be honest. I just thought that he simplified his game to a degree. I like some of his carries.
Got pushed to the edge at one point, which is very out of position for him, but seemingly handled that okay.
Yeah, I thought it was okay for a return game. I thought it was okay. Got through a bunch of work.
Did he get put on report, or am I imagining that? Yes.
Was that the knee thing?
Yeah,
I don't.
I think
an accidental knee.
Yeah, and someone was falling in the tackle.
I don't.
Okay, sweet.
But outside of that, just seems like a club that is really, really struggling entirely on the field, off the field. Doesn't seem like a place that's clicking.
You know who was really good at centre? That centre they've got, Manu.
Oh, yeah, the best centre in the world.
He looked great there and just allowed him to pick and choose his moments a little bit better. Even on the last play of the game where he came up with a flick pass that went over the sideline, but just when the Roosters got the ball and just went zing, zing and hit him, it looked dangerous.
Well, who was the centre? Albert Hopewadi that nearly tripped over his own feet? He literally nearly made him trip over.
Yeah, and this halfback, I really like the look of him, Kempy.
Sandy Smith.
They put him to hooker when Jake Turpin went off the field, and the ball that he threw to Lindsay Collins was magic. He came up with an offload later in the game that Teddy could have swallowed. He dropped it. That could have turned into something. I like the look of the Roosters when he's in control. Maybe it's just because it's different. I don't know, but I like the look.
Well, he's bringing energy.
Yeah.
He just fucking getting in there and just trying shit.
There was even a moment where he came with his left foot and he threw it down and he got absolutely jammed, but it was just something different. He's trying things.
He reminds me a little bit of Dearden in regards to you can't really pinpoint is there this crazy flash where a Sam Walker where you see it, but he's just ripping in. He's just trying to make things happen.
You can tell by the way he ball plays, some of the kicks he put in, just the way he carries himself. He backs himself as well.
Yeah.
He's confident in his own ability.
I'm not saying he plays like Dearden, guys. I'm more talking about just the energy that he brings to a team.
And you can see that as well. It's the energy that he brings. What I said last week, I'd be keeping him at halfback for now. It shit me when they moved him to hooker, but he did pretty well there, to be fair.
Radley was put on report, but there were charges from the other 2 games and none from this game, so I don't think he got
Yeah, it was
charged.
a falling knee. It wasn't anything. Anyway, that is it. Let's get to our tips, boys, and get the fuck out of here. Cronulla Sharks paying $1.12. St. George Dragons paying $6.50. Oh, I'll just get on that to get on it.
They have actually drifted since then, which is remarkable. I thought after the Ben Hunt news they'd come in, but they're at $6.70 now.
Mate, just chuck a tenner on it. Like, you can't go wrong with a tenner on it, surely.
Yeah, I'll keep my Chris McKenna and I'll take the Sharks.
I mean, I'll be taking the Sharks, but I'll be chucking a tenner on just
Sharkies.
Yeah, Sharks.
Sharkies. $6.70. Oh my God. That's crazy when you think that like they're actually not even missing any players.
Wild, yeah.
Warriors v the Rabbitohs.
I'm going to take the Wars over there.
Warriors paying $1.80, Rabbitohs $2.
It's going to be a corker of a game, but yeah, I'm on the Wars.
I tipped South against Penrith and Storm, but I'm going to go Warriors as well.
Whoa.
Holy.
Yeah, 5-day turnaround, not in good form over
No
there.
faith. No faith. Wow. No loyalty. I'm going the Warriors. Melbourne Storm paying $1.85. Penrith Panthers paying $1.95.
I'm going to take Penrith.
This shaping is a great round of footy already. Panthers.
Melbourne.
Storm. Raiders v the Titans. Raiders $1.65. Titans $2.25.
I'm going to take the Titans. I think the Raiders. I think last night would have taken a lot out of the tank for them.
Raiders.
I'm going Titans as well.
Raiders because it's at home and Gold Coast people don't like the cold. North Queensland Cowboys $1.20. Tigers $4.50.
Cows.
Cows.
Cows, but it's crazy that Tigers put 66 on them a few weeks ago. But cows.
Yeah, and they're 460.
They're $4.50. It's might be a bit of value there. Might be a little bit of value.
Fresh off the bye.
Fresh off the bye. Oh, actually, sorry, they're missing Appy and Luke Brooks. I apologise. That's not a value. There's no value there, guys. I'm going Cowboys. Broncos v the Dolphins. Broncos paying $1.20. Dolphins $4.50. I do think there's value there.
And this isn't at Suncorp. This is at the Gabba.
The Gabba, how good.
Yeah.
Lit.
Wayne Bennett, old club. I'm picking Broncos, but $4.50.
Yeah, I think Brisbane will bounce back.
Brisbane.
I don't hate the value. I'm going Brisbane, but I'm with you. I don't hate the value.
Just Wayne Bennett.
Yeah.
Mate, he had the worst Origin side ever and beat New South Wales.
Like we know about your worst Origin side ever.
Doggies paying $2.15. Knights $1.71. Yuck.
Newcastle.
Shit. Newcastle.
Knights.
Knights. Manly $2.15. Sydney Roosters $1.71.
God. I'm gonna now that they're playing Garrick at fullback, I'll take Manly in this one.
Manly.
I'm going to take Roosters.
Yeah, I'm going Roosters. Obviously brought to you by Sportsbet, the best in the business. Make sure to gamble responsibly. You win some, but you lose more. Beers and break evens, 3 p.m. on Wednesday. As usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.